Turn our meeting over to our zoning administrator, Joey Hargis.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Metropolitan Board of Zoning Appeals is now in session for its regularly scheduled meetings, plural, of January 6th and January 20th. As you'll recall, our January 6th meeting was canceled due to weather. So on today's agenda, we will hear those cases that were originally scheduled for January 6th first before getting to our January 20th cases. Again, I'm Joey Hargis, and I'll be presenting the cases for the board in review in today's public hearing. At this time, I would ask that anyone, if you would please silence or put your cell phones on vibrate so as not to disrupt today's proceedings. The board would appreciate that. The procedure will be to introduce the case record as the Codes Department has it, and we'll do so on the wall here in front by means of a PowerPoint presentation. I'll present any photographs, plans, sketches that we've received on today's cases. The board has received all the letters and emails that you've sent in. Those have been provided to the board along with any correspondence received in our office a week prior to today's hearing. I'll go through the case record and show the photographs. At the conclusion of my presentation, the applicant will come forward to the table, identify themselves, and make their presentation. In cases without opposition, the applicant has 5 minutes to present their case to the board. In cases with opposition, each side of a case has 10 minutes to present their testimony to the board, and that 10 minutes is per side, not per speaker. So if you have multiple folks who wish to address this board, either for or against your case, please work out who's speaking and for how long. I'll keep the time here at the desk and notify you when there's 5 minutes remaining and then 3. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. I'm having a little bit of trouble here. All sections I refer to today come directly from the Metropolitan Zoning Code, which applies to the entire jurisdiction of Metro government. It was adopted by the Metro Council and became effective January 1st, 1998. And I'll dispense from reading individual sections unless opposition or applicants request that I read them. A copy of this zoning code is made part of the record. I do have a copy of it here with me present. The zoning code requires that these proceedings be taped. Therefore, it's imperative anyone wishing to address this board to come forward, have a seat at the table. I've got 4 spots there. The microphone stand looks like this. If you can see that, there's a button to the just right-hand side of the microphone itself. If you'll push that just one time, the light will ring around the microphone, will turn red, and you'll free to again, identify yourself and make your testimony. Once you get done, push the button again one time, turn it off. We'd appreciate that. The board will go through all cases set for public hearing today, and then the board will vote and discuss on the cases before you here in person. The board's vested with the power to act under Section 1740-180 of the Metro Code of Law. The code requires that 4 members of this 7-member board be present to constitute a quorum. We've got 6 members present today. It is necessary for you to have 4 affirmative votes for your application for your request to be granted. So out of these 6 members, you'll need a vote of 4 in favor to grant your case. If you have any vote less than 4, 3 or 2, your case will be deemed tied up on votes. It'll stay on our agenda for the next 30 days. The members who participate are allowed to change their vote at the next public hearing. The member who was not present may watch these proceedings on Metro's YouTube channel and become eligible to participate in the case should they wish to. If your cases still remain tied after 30 days, your case is deemed denied by operation of law. If you're an applicant and your case is granted, it is necessary for you to obtain the permit for which you've applied in cases which have a building permit. And it should be noted that you have 2 years from today's date to obtain your permit for this board's approval to remain valid. Mr. Chairman, I submit that all cases were filed in proper order. Appellants were notified by certified mail as required by the code. All affected property owners were notified by first-class mail as required by the code. I do have, the board does allow elected officials to address this board should they wish to before the case begins, or they can wait until the case they're interested in. I do see a couple council members present with me today. Let's see here. Councilmember Roberts, do you wish to address the board now or I'm going to wait until the case itself? Okay. Councilmember Young, do you want to address now or at the time of the thing? Are there any other council members present that I did not recognize? Okay, Mr. Chairman, seeing none. I do have a few preliminary announcements. The board has had some cases request deferral and withdrawal, and I'll go through those now. The first case that is being withdrawn from the agenda is case 2022-008, Barge Coffin and Associates, Nashville Oz Propco LLC, the owner at 915 John Lewis Way, requesting a variance from the Sidewalk Requirements in the CF District. This was a case that was granted in 2021, a Sidewalk Waiver by the previous zoning administrator and required the payment of an in lieu of fee. I've taken another look at that case, and I'm actually waiving the fee in lieu of payment requirement. So that case does not need to be here. So that case has been withdrawn. So if you're here for case 8, that case has been removed by staff, and they're allowed to proceed on. And then we received a request prior to today's meeting requesting a deferral on case 2022-13. That's David Purser. It's 5738 Cane Ridge Road. Requested a deferral until the February 6th. I said February 6th. I apologize. February the 3rd agenda. And that case will be deferred. That's case 13 on our agenda. Mr. Chairman, I think that's all the preliminary announcements I received. We did receive a request from the appellants in case 2022-12 requesting a deferral request. Mr. Chairman, the time requested, I believe, 2 meetings. Mr. Chairman, the applicant's here if you have any questions about that.
Okay, I will use my discretion in the rules to move that case for the discussion only of a deferral to the top of the docket. If we don't choose to defer it, then it'll go back to its regular position and hear from the applicant. And then I know the council lady is here for that district too, and give her an opportunity to speak as it relates to the deferral or any other issues that you want to address with the case.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Cleveland Bain, 1222 16th Avenue South. I represent Highland Park Church. This is the first time this has come before the board. I know that Highland Park has had other matters, I think, before the BZA and Planning Commission, but this is a separate proposal. Ideally, we would like a deferral because there's been several letters from neighbors that's been sent either to the pastor or to the codes office. I've received some of those. I would like to go through them, see what some of the issues are with the neighbors, and then we would like to have a community meeting to address those. We've not had an opportunity to speak to anyone individually or as a whole. I know there's also some attorneys that represent some members of the board. I've met with them, and I've also provided my email address to the co-chair of the neighborhood association so she can provide her email mailing list so we can nail down dates and get as much participation from the neighborhood as we can. So based on those, I would ask to defer it 2 meetings.
Okay. Are there questions from the board? Okay. Council Lady Roberts, did you want to address the board? And I'm sorry, and yeah, well, as you're coming up, I mean, this is just so, I know that there are a lot of folks in the audience here for the case based on T-shirts and talking. And I've been on this board just over 10 years, and it is very common for us to have any request that's made by an applicant to defer it, especially if it's in order to understand and address concerns that are expressed by opposition. So this is not an unusual request, although I know it's a inconvenience for folks to take time off of work and come here and expect to hear something this day. This board, and again, we haven't discussed or voted, but it is not unusual for this board to say if there's an opportunity to find common ground and to address concerns before the actual hearing, then we want to take that. So I'm sorry, Council Lady Roberts. Yeah, come up if you would, just, and I've already sort of introduced you, but state your name and address and what you'd like to say. And again, there's no time limit on your time, but you have to press the little button there and make the red light turn on.
It's been a while since
There
I've
you
been
go.
here. Thank you all for your service. We sure appreciate what you do. My name is Mary Carolyn Roberts. I live at 5110 Michigan Avenue in Nashville. We are asking that their deferral is for 4 meetings, and the reason I say that is because none of my constituents received any mailing about this. This kind of caught us all off guard. So we're asking that if there's going to be 2, it really is better for us on our timeline to give us a little more time to talk about it and discuss it, since this kind of came out of the blue for all of us. So that would be my only request.
Would you and your client be opposed to having this on the second meeting of March docket?
I don't believe that would be an issue, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So that would be acceptable. That would be 4 meetings, so it'd be
Okay.
17th.
There we go.
I'm sorry.
That's
Yeah, the
perfect.
second meeting of March is the 17th of March.
Perfect. That would be great. Does that work?
Okay, so that's good. All right, so was there anything else that you'd like to add?
No.
Did you have anything else to add for that? All right, then I will close the public hearing on that issue, and we will discuss just deferring this case until the 17th.
I'm just going to make a motion we defer until the 17th.
Is it- As a motion, as a second, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye, raise your hand. Any opposed? That motion passes. So we will see everyone on the 17th, and wish you the best of luck.
And Mr. Chairman, that'll be the first case on that day's agenda.
Right, okay, that's perfect. And Council Lady Benedict has come in, and you are certainly welcome to speak as we get started. You can talk now, or you can wait for your case, but it looks like you want to talk now, so please come in, turn your light on, and tell us why you came out today.
Thank you so much, and just as my predecessor colleagues said, thank you all for your service. Very much appreciate all that you do. I have 2 cases before my district. My 2 appellants in my district have cases before you. The first one is 2022-009. That's in regards to a sidewalk requirement that has been in front of the Sidewalk Waiver Committee, and it was denied there. You have a letter from me that I sent prior to the last BZA meeting. I am not in support of that appeal, so I certainly am interested in hearing from you during that, and I'll be watching the recording. Unfortunately, I cannot state it in my personal work schedule today. The other case that you have is the very last one today. It's 2022-016, and that's from Karen Levy. She and I have worked very closely on this in the past week in particular, but over the past few weeks, she was very upfront with me, told me what's happening, told me about her house. It is currently an HPR, and she lives in one of the older existing, she lives in the one of the homes on that HPR. It's a small home, and it has a basement with a separate outside entrance. And she wants to use it for her mother-in-law. She wants to add, for her own mother. Rather, she wants to add a bathroom there, which is what her appeal today is. And in a nutshell, in talking with Joey Hargis, what we discussed is that this is going to create a 3rd dwelling unit on the HPR lot. I'm very curious to hear what your questions are about this, because I want to make sure from a precedent perspective, I want to see what that will mean for you. However, she has worked really hard to ensure that these rights, should this appeal be passed, she actually has, and this is not anything that I can do anything about, but I think it might give you a bit of comfort. It gave me a bit of comfort. She's worked with a title attorney to draw up covenants, CCRs, that would be filed and attached. She would do a quit claim, attach it to the deed, these CCRs, such that should the property ever change ownership from her or from any entity to which she belongs, that this additional use of on the property would not be transferred. It cannot be transferred. That helped me with my comfort in regards to this, because I do believe that will prevent this use from being able to be used going forward. I think the concern that I have, that you may have, is that if you approve this, what's the likelihood that it could stay with the property upon resale? I think, and I feel comfortable based on my own experience as a realtor myself, I believe that that should not be a problem based on the things that she's willing to do and that she already has prepared. She may even, I spoke with her about 2 days ago, and she may have already worked with a title attorney to quitclaim that and get those CCRs attached in order to have them recorded. If not, I believe she's planning to do that in short order. I don't know what you can do to take that into consideration, but again, that's something that helped give me a bit of comfort that her intent is true.
Have you seen the home? Have you been to the home?
I haven't been on the property, but I've driven past it multiple times and stopped and looked, but I did not go around the house to see where the outside entrance is. She invited me on multiple occasions. It's just a matter of time.
And I'm sure she can explain that with the case. I mean, the question I had, and had you been there, I would have asked you, have all the opportunities to connect the living spaces been exhausted? I mean, is it
That's correct.
Structurally impossible to add a basement stair inside the home to connect to her basement? And so we can ask her that. That would be the question, had you been there.
Great question, Chair, and absolutely we discussed that. There is the only opportunity to put even just a square spiral staircase down. It just doesn't exist. It's a very small house already, and so she would have to put on an addition to add those stairs. That definitely was Mr. Hargis's advice to me was the first and best option would be to get those stairs there, which I think she would like to do, but the cost I think it's cost prohibitive probably. And her plan for the space downstairs is for her 85-year-old mother to live there. So that also, again, I would suspect that use would her intent is to only use it for that. Additionally, that reminded me of something. I'll remember it unless you want me to go away right now.
No. The other case on Scott, I think that, let's see, the home faces, so this is Unit B. I think this is, we're not talking about Keller. I think Keller has a sidewalk, but Scott doesn't. So it's only Scott that we're talking about. That side is what you want built.
On that one, that's correct,
Okay.
yep.
Perfect.
And it's a very busy and dangerous street, I think was in my email to you, I believe. And this would be just the first section on that street, but it's not a long block right there. And as we know, when we can get Metro to fill in those sections in between the building, and there's a lot of development in the area.
Okay, great. Any other questions, Councilor Benedict? Thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
If I remember the last thing I was going to say about Chester Avenue, I will shoot you a quick email during the meeting and a text to David in order to get it. Thank you all again for all your work.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, one other announcement I missed on the very front of the docket. We had a case on postponed a couple times, 2021-143, Dwayne Cuthbertson at 1233 Lishia. If you'll recall, this is the alley situation, and somewhere on the line, the alley got closed. I am pleased to report that all parties have agreed and recorded the dedication right away to Metro. They've asked for just a little bit additional time. They're reworking their site plan. I advised them keep it on the agenda in case you needed to get some sort of variance, but they're working on resolving the case completely. So they want to defer to 2-3 on that.
All right, and we'll just keep it like we have, and just let that one go, since that was our directive. At the beginning of this case, to say, please go try to figure it out, and it sounds like they've done a good job of working toward that. All right, so let's proceed with our first case.
Our first case today will be case 2022-001, Adam Schneider, the appellant and owner of the property located at 3804 B Dartmouth Avenue, requesting a variance in the height restrictions in RS10. Applicants seeking to construct second floor to a garage, referred to the board under section 17-160B. The appellant has alleged jurisdiction under section 1740-180. Item B, is the applicant present? Yes. For this case, come on forward, sir. Are there any parties in opposition to case 1 on Dartmouth? Okay, seeing none, sir, you'll have 5 minutes to present your case to the board. After, I'll do my PowerPoint first, then I'll turn it over to you. What's that, sir? Yes, sir, I am. The subject property is located on the north side of Dartmouth Avenue, just west of Estes Road. It's the property surrounded in blue there. And again, in this aerial photograph, it's the red parcel. This is the site plan submitted by the applicant, and the applicant has requested a garage to be constructed at 22 feet to the peak of the garage. The maximum allowable height in this zone district is 16 feet, and you see the site plan with the location of the garage. He did submit an elevation drawing as part of his application for that height. Upon my visit to the site, the house is currently undergoing renovations. As you'll see, the view of the subject property and views to either side. Upon my visit, I did not find one kind of, you saw the conditions there. I couldn't quite get to the site. The garage is not under construction, at least upon my visit. I think the foundation's been set, but he's concentrating work on the house, and I believe doing some work on the second story of the existing residence in that dormer area, which you saw in the front of the house there. But again, he's come to our office seeking, and to this board seeking additional height in that garage, and that's the case record as I have it. Sir, I'll turn it over to you. Again, you've got 5 minutes to present, and I'll let you know when you've got about 2 left. So.
Awesome. Council members, thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it. Just the kind of short and sweet here is we purchased this home out of an estate sale back in February of 2021. It was in complete disarray. So when we purchased it, it was assumed that you basically have to do a full gut reno to even make it livable. A part of that process, we had built plans, submitted the plans to the city. The city approved the plans. Subsequently, in September of this year, I received a new job. This job is working with an asset manager in dealing with confidential information and material information at specific times. And FINRA, the regulating body of the asset management world here, requires that we have a private and secure second office. In our design of our current home, we had a co-share office. My wife also works remotely, and the idea was to share that office. Unfortunately, with the FINRA regulations, that's prohibited. And the way that the home has been designed was already fully under construction at this point, we could not make adjustments to the existing physical layout. Our builder recommended that if we could add, I think the architect added 22 feet. It's in reality, I think it's just under 22 by 21 inches. So it's, I think, around 50 inches of total height that would allow for an apex of about 8 feet above the garage and second floor, about 200 square feet of livable space, call it, and that would be sufficient enough for me to have an office. It would also have its separate entrance. That separate entrance is key and critical because that is what is determining factor of allowing FINRA to approve that office to be in compliance and code. Right now, I am currently renting an office at a Regis facility here in Nashville so that I can abide by those laws and those rules. And so what we're asking and why we haven't started the garage yet process is because we wanted to make sure that this process was heard, is to add that 50 or so inches, which would allow us to apex about 8 feet and provide me about 200 square feet of space that I can actually zone specifically as a private independent office, which would meet all the requirements from FINRA and the SEC. And then I guess one other comment I'd like to make is the house sits on the north side of Dartmouth. Just on the south side of Woodmont are, I want to say, 7 to 8 HPRs. All of those HPRs have garages, you probably see in the presentation to you, that sit at a minimum of 27 feet or 25 feet with multiple of those homes sitting about 30 feet at the apex of their garage. So from a sightline perspective, there would be no obstruction for any of the homes behind us as well.
Do you have that view, Joey?
It's in our packet as well.
Mr. Chairman, this is the only view I've got of that aerial there.
It should be in the packet, I believe, that I provided.
Oh,
Page 47 in the packet. Okay.
I have a question, unless you had one, Chairman.
No.
Okay. I noticed on the plans you have a bathroom in the office space.
Yes.
And I understand that, but why is a tub needed in that bathroom?
That's just there. Basically, the architect or the designer put it in there. We just need a bathroom, a toilet, to be honest.
Okay. So if this was approved, would you be willing to take out the bath? Not the bath, the tub?
We could take out the tub out, yeah, absolutely. And we have a restrictive covenant on the facility, or on that garage already. It's prohibitive of any, because I think the real question is, are you going to use that for a livable or a dadu? And that's not what we want to do with this.
Right, I'm just thinking future owners.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions?
What do your neighbors?
I've got the picture where the houses that are to the rear of yours are, the minimum height is 27. I get that. How about the neighbors to each side of you? Have they, I mean, you had to give them notice of this.
Yeah.
Do they have any objections?
No issues. I think actually more of them are interested on what's going on here, because I think a lot of them are trying to do something of a similar nature where they're going to redo their garages. Most of those garages are 40-ish years old, I would say. The homes there are relatively older on our street, and so they've just been naturally renovated over the course of time.
Thank you.
You mentioned that you looked at some options to change the layout of the addition to the house to accomplish this. So you weren't able to find any things that worked out to actually connect the garage to the house? Because I believe if it's connected to the house, Joey, you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but what he's doing would be permissible without a variance, right?
If attached to the residence and meeting the side setbacks, yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay.
Believe it or not, we actually asked 3 of our neighbors on this. I think just visually, it would be considered kind of an eyesore, and it's on its own. The beauty of this street is that all of the homes, even with this home being relatively renovated new, all look very much similar. And the idea is these are not the modern builds. These are the older kind of French colonial. We kept that facade, and that's why we fell in love with the home. And so we're trying to stick to that.
Any more questions? Anything else to add?
Nothing.
All right, we'll close the public hearing.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'll ask some of our architects for your thoughts.
I had a similar question to Christina, because I noticed the tub being there too, and I was thinking, okay, well, he's going to use it as an office, but some future owner could use it as a garage apartment, legally or illegally, whatever. And so that I definitely had that same question. I would feel more comfortable probably if the tub wasn't in there, just to kind of discourage that use. But otherwise, I mean, like as the applicant noted, I mean, I think in terms of scale with the surrounding context, it's very much within reason. You know, he might have kind of hurt himself a little bit there when he noticed that all his neighbors are trying to do the same thing. That's the only thing I'm a little worried about, is kind of creating some sort of precedent. I know that's not what we can't create precedent, but I had to kind of put up a little bit of a red flag in my mind, actually, when he said.
Well, and you know, I think he benefits from the houses behind him being having accessory dwellings taller, and you know, as you all are the architects. I mean, you know, and I'm close to one also, and I hear lots of projects people wish they could do that they can't, and yet I have no. I mean, if this were my neighbor, I would probably want them to be able to do this because it's not invasive and it's, you know, for all the reasons that were stated. So I don't have an issue with it, but just
well, from the sightline perspective, I like that these diagrams were provided so that, you know, we know you can't see it from the front yard. There's only a 5-foot height difference. So, you know, when we're looking at context, it's not going to be an eyesore from the street. So, no real objections on this one.
So can y'all identify hardship?
That's my issue as well. I'm trying to identify. I mean, I guess there are unique characteristics of this issue, but I'm having a hard time myself with that.
If I can I add a comment, or is this past time?
Is there objection to opening the public hearing to allow the applicant to address a hardship issue? Yes.
So the hardship for us is that right now we're I'm personally paying for a separate office, which was not expected. And the idea here is that we can utilize our primary residence as our office as well. And so that's a real economic hardship for us.
I certainly do understand that, but, I mean, if you look at the qualifications for hardship, financial gain, or saving money is not one of them, even though obviously it impacts a lot of people with that. So I certainly understand you, but legally, that's not grounds for a hardship on that.
All right, I'll close the public hearing again. It seems like that, again, whether you buy it or not, the argument for the hardship was the historical nature of the homes, but the sightline issues that were addressed, and it may not be something that gels into here's an obvious hardship, but I think there were elements of lots of different things that say this is an approach that is necessary to maintain, characters. We
on the other side,
is there a tree?
I will say on the other side of that coin, Member Newton brought up the possibility of doing an addition instead. And then in that case, this is as of right, and a variance really isn't required. The addition would just have to be in the same architectural style as the home to not be an eyesore. But, to your comment, I am having a hard time finding the hardship on this one.
Yeah, and I completely understand that in some, the neighbors not wanting to have a big monstrosity on their neighboring property. But I think there are ways you could do it that work with the context of the neighborhood. I mean, if you ask me personally, I don't have any issue with this. If it was my neighbor, I'd be fine with it. But, I am having a hard time. I mean, I think that maybe your comment about the, maintaining the context of a neighborhood could be a unique characteristic.
I have something I noticed here is that there's a rain garden on the low point of the site. And if you were to move the garage and that building to be next to the home, that might take away the low part of the site. And so we all want rain gardens. For those who don't know about rain gardens, it makes sense for that to be on the low part of the site, so.
So you're saying that the topography of the rain garden
That sounds like a hardship to me.
As the alternative being, instead of going out on the garage, the applicant has chosen to go up and out. Going out would solve his problem because he could add an office to the first floor of the garage and have his private entrance, but because of that has chosen to go up and therefore is worthy of a variance. Is that
right?
Right. So is that something you're going to throw out as a potential solution?
Yeah, I will make a motion to approve the variance request with the condition that the bathroom is not built with a tub or a shower, and the hardship being the preserving the low point on the site for the rain garden that's required by stormwater.
I'll second.
Discussion.
This is more of a question. Can we, and maybe I need to ask staff this, but that restriction on tub or shower in there, can that basically be there forever?
I think it's there until they come and ask permission.
Until they ask for us to change it, but it can't go in without, in other words.
I mean, if they're going to add a tub or shower, you're supposed to have a permit for that, and the permit would have to go through the same process to that we're talking about here.
I mean, I don't object to them having it. I mean, that's the problem. I just want to make sure that it doesn't turn into a tiny Airbnb somewhere down the road, and then we have another group of people coming mad at us.
I think with the covenant, though, they wouldn't be able to get an Airbnb permit.
I mean,
You know-
who knows if Airbnb is going to exist in 30 years down the road?
Lord knows, yeah, exactly.
All right, any other discussion? Have a motion, have a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye, raise your hand. Any opposed? That motion passes. Good luck.
Thank you guys very much.
All right, case number 2.
And actually, I kind of got ahead of myself. We actually have a consent agenda, which we forgot to go into.
Oh, yeah.
So my apologies. We got tied up with the four meeting deferral. I let it slip past us. So the board does have a consent agenda, and chairman reviews the cases for today's agenda, and if in his opinion,
Who knew?
the case meets all the criteria for the request that's been requested, and there's no opposition, he recommends these cases to the board for approval. So if I call out these cases and you're here in opposition to any of these cases, please raise your hand, and we'll hear it in its regular course. The first case I had recommended for consent is case 2022-6, Mark and Kenneth Davis, 208 Cantrell Avenue, requesting a variance in side setbacks. Is there any parties here present in opposition to the case? No opposition. Mr. Chairman, recommends approval of the case subject to the condition that this carport remain open and unenclosed. Are you agreeable to that condition? Yes, sir. Okay. With that, he recommends that case to the members of the board for consent. And then the next case recommended for consent, case 2022-11, Charles Wood III, 1212B Stainback Avenue, requesting a variance in the height restrictions in the SP district to construct a detached garage. Is there any parties here present on case 11? I know you're the applicant? Yes. Okay. Any opposition to case 11? Okay, Mr. Chairman, seeing none, that one's recommended for consent as well.
All right, my apologies to the audience for us getting out of order. The church case threw us off just a bit, but we do have 2 items on the consent agenda that have just been mentioned. Is there any, those have been, a motion has been made for those to be on consent. Is there a second?
Second.
And any discussion? All right, all in favor of the consent agenda, raise your hand, say aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. So if you are here for those 2 cases, you can see the codes folks on Monday and move forward with your project. And or you're certainly welcome to sit through more cases.
Yeah, my apologies for getting us off course there.
Yeah,
Mr.
sorry
Chairman.
about that to everybody.
No, that's not on you, sir. That's on me. Okay, the next case before us is case 2022-2. Alfred Benish and Company, the appellants for Value Thrift Holdings LLC, the owner of the property located at 2801 Dickerson Pike, requesting variances in landscape buffer, drive aisle widths, and parking requirements in the CS district to construct a new mixed-use development. Referred to the board under sections 1724-230, 1720-060, and 1720-030. The appellant has alleged jurisdiction under section 1740-180, item B. Members, you've got a letter from the council member in support for this request. So, the subject property are the 3 parcels located, parcels 8, 7, and 6, located at the northeast corner of Lorraine Avenue and Dickerson Pike, north side of town. This is an aerial photograph of the subject sites. Any question there? And that would be these 3 parcels here. The site plan submitted by the appellants, this is actually a second version of the site plan, the applicant's first version, and we've pared down the variances that we had here. So what we've got are threefold. One is a landscape buffer variance along the eastern property boundary here. The applicant's requested to do a C5 buffer which is a 10-foot wide buffer with a masonry wall. This buffer is typically not permitted outside the UZO, but that is their request here. And the normal the code calls for a 20-foot wide buffer without a masonry wall. So that's the portion of their request. The second I've listed as removed, but I would like the board to sort of at least cover on the site plan located in this drive aisle here where my laser pointer is a 22-foot wide drive aisle. The zoning code requires 24-foot widths and drive aisles. Fire department in some instances allow 20 to 22, but our zoning code speaks to 24. This particular location is based upon some compact spaces that are on 90 degree. This does meet at least the table in the zoning code, but typically as you see here, we've got a 24-foot drive aisle. So if you don't mind covering that, we really don't have an objection at all to that. And then the parking space requests, we're about 4 spaces short based upon the uses in here. With takeout restaurant, full service restaurant, personal care services are some of the uses proposed. So once we total those up and allow for reductions, or allow for the compact spaces, we're 4 short there. This is looking at the subject site from Lorraine. Members, I did not stand in Dickerson Road to take photographs of this one, so all of my views are from the south in this photograph. Looking at the subject property, and then a view toward the intersection, a view looking north on Dickerson Pike. And then I did capture this view from the tax assessor's office. You may see more of these in the future, of a orthographic photo to show the subject site.
Hey, Joey, will you show us on this picture where the landscape buffer is?
It would actually be right back here, is where that buffer yard's going to happen. If you noticed in the photograph, I don't have a good shot of, there's actually a single-family residence currently on the parcel as well, but it's going to be back along this far eastern property line here, is where that D buffer relates to here.
And is that the existing house? I guess we can
I
understand.
don't know if that's a new structure. It's an approximate location of the existing residence that's there, but I don't know if they're reutilized, and I'll let them address it there. But that's about the location of the structure which you saw here. Photo. But that's the case records. We have it. Are there any parties present opposed to case 2 on Dickerson Pike? Mr. Chairman, seeing none. Mr. Cooper, and you and your applicants have 5 minutes to address the board. I'll let you know it too.
Thank you. John Cooper with Spencer Fain, Bone McAllister, 711 Chesterfield Way, Nashville. With me is James Nyquist with Benesh Engineering, as well as J.P. Jackson, who's the architect on the project. This is a very unique project. I have not seen one like it. It's really going to be fantastic for the neighborhood. But as Mr. Hargis said, we're seeking a variance from the parking requirements, parking area design, and landscaping for these properties. The plan involves protecting and renovating the existing buildings on the property, which includes the home you mentioned, as well as adding new outdoor amenities for a mixed-use commercial development. The specific variances are to request the driveway width, as Mr. Hargis said, from 24 to 22 feet. Under the tables, as he said, under the zoning code, 22 would be allowed, but 24 is generally required. 22 feet would still allow two-way traffic through the development. The second request is to reduce the buffer yard from 20 feet to 10 feet with a 6-foot wall, 6-foot tall masonry wall. If this property was in the UZO, that would be allowed by right. So we're trying to, in order to make the development work, which I'll explain, we need that reduction, as well as reducing the number of parking spaces by 4. This is a 2.25 acre lot. The amenities that will be provided for the neighborhood include a new outdoor plaza and playground that will be constructed for the community. And it will involve the redevelopment of the existing blighted structures. It will provide pedestrian enhancements and open space that is all designed to accomplish the intent as specified in the community character policy for this property, this area. To arguments supporting the variances for the landscape buffer, which frankly is the most important. That's critical to being able to develop the property. Allowing the 10-foot buffer would allow for the 90-degree parking spaces, the compact spaces that are shown to be constructed. Without those, we would be significantly short on parking. The drive aisle width reduction, since the community character policy encourages pedestrian streetscape improvements and green space, the development plan here is prioritizing the open space common area between the existing buildings. So in order to preserve that, it requires that drive aisle be reduced by 2 feet. Again, that would allow for the 90-degree compact spaces with the 22-foot driveway, which will be required in order to make the development successful. Regarding the hardship evidence, it's really based upon the physical characteristics of the lot and the existing buildings and preserving the existing buildings so that we can have the open space component for the neighbors. Without that, we could not have the common open space if we had to comply with these 3 areas. This is a very unique development in need of revitalization. As you see, you have a letter in support from the district council member. We've received no opposition from any of the neighbors. The hardship is not self-imposed. I mean, we're preserving the existing conforming buildings that are on the property, but revitalizing them in a way that they'll be beneficial both from a use standpoint for the neighbors and also aesthetically. The neighborhood amenities, as I mentioned, and the open spaces are the primary motivating factors. It's to offer this amenity for the community, not financial gain. They could do another development, probably make more money, but they felt that having the open space component of the development was very important to the community.
Got about a minute left, Mr. Cooper.
I would say that Mr. Nyquist is here if you have any questions regarding or any technical questions. But again, there's no opposition, and we think that this is very beneficial for the community.
So on the plans that were submitted, there's I think a chrome bar, some photo, something or other. That's all in the existing long building. It says the diner, which I assume is a diner, in the existing building to the left. Joey, can you back to the overhead? I'm sorry. And then the other building's a restaurant. There's a shade structure in between. Then there's the lawn. There's something called the wash, which are 2 T-shaped somethings.
Those
that
are,
go in that corner. What are those? Those
are
aren't there now.
they're takeout. Essentially, they're fixed food trucks. They're spaces for mobile food vendors to lease the space.
Okay.
So that those will change out. It's not for a fixed restaurant.
Okay, and then the existing, where it says tattoo parlor is the existing home. Is that, okay. And so I guess I'll make an assumption, but I'll ask you to answer so it's not an assumption anymore. If we were to grant this variance, is there any opposition to us having it contingent on the plan substantially as presented, meaning that, if buildings start to get torn down or a different use is proposed, that you would have to come back to this board to ask for any variance? And substantially means things like, I don't know what the shade structure is, but my assumption is it's a pavilion type thing that supports the lawn and whoever's on the stage or the shade, where you want to hang out or whatnot. But, you take something like that away. This is just more for the zoning staff to review if necessary. That's fine. You start tearing down all the existing buildings and building other things, then I think you need to ask for appropriate variances for what you want to do.
Yes, we agree to that.
Is there any other questions at this point?
What has been the sentiment of the neighbors right next door? Because that's a residential property on the other side of that masonry wall, correct? Okay.
Other than just the mailers that have gone out, we haven't received any opposition.
Can you, I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
No opposition to the development and the landscape buffer.
So
There's
mailers went
there's
out,
no
but you haven't
buffer at all
spoken to
right
them.
now. I'm sorry?
Mailers went out, but you haven't spoken to the neighbor.
Did anybody go over there and try to reach out to them? The council person may have, they're involved in that neighborhood and they go and try and get a pulse of it, but I haven't heard of anything directly, no direct conversation.
So just so I'm clear, the restaurant, building 4, the diner, building 2 on your plan, the tattoo parlor, building 5, and then 3A, B, and C, those are all the existing buildings on site that you plan to maintain. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any, frankly, I think this is cool, I wish that was a grounds for, for us to make decisions on things sometimes. But I'm thinking about this being possibly a pretty popular spot. Do you have provisions in this, especially if we're going to be reducing parking spaces? Do you have provisions in this for ride share, for, I know Dickerson Pike's a pretty heavily trafficked public transit corridor. Are there any provisions for that kind of stuff in your plan here?
There is no specific ride-share designated area, though it is a two-way drive aisle that could allow for that. It is on the major transit line, and in addition, there's the opportunity to explore other parking arrangements with other properties if necessary. But we think that the 93 will sufficiently park. I think you'll have a lot of hopefully walk-up traffic for the development as well.
And is there street parking on on the side street there that comes off Dickerson?
There's no street parking intended at the moment. I mean, Lorraine, I think is Lorraine. It's, yeah, we're just gonna renovate our side of it, but it's a pretty tight area right there. It probably wouldn't sustain street parking.
And it looks like on the drawing that you have all new sidewalks up to city code.
Yeah, we fully intend to do sidewalks by code.
If you had if you dedicated for 4 street spots along Lorraine, would that help you to meet your parking requirements?
I think that those are only half, so it would get us close. But
Okay.
we could look at doing some street and seeing if we had enough room there to get a couple more. But yeah, I mean, we're anticipating the bulk of the volume being able, someone comes on,
Sure.
explores all of the different areas.
Yeah.
We're multimodal corridor, we anticipate ride share, alternate forms of transportation, that kind of thing.
Yeah, my only concern is, when in 20 years, and this is, the hot neighborhood or whatever, you're placed in the middle of it, people are parking 3 blocks over to get over here, and all the neighbors are mad at us for doing this 20 years ago. So that's the one thing I'm concerned about here. Thanks.
So I'm struggling, whenever you reduce a buffer by 50% next to residential, that concerns me. And it doesn't look like you could tweak this to get any more buffer out without doing a complete redesign. But I also, and your position is the building, which will be the restaurant, is the hardship.
Yes.
And I'm trying to get my arms around that because, it seems like you could still provide the buffer, but it's just been designed in a way where, you have the corridor in the back.
Yeah.
I hadn't made up my mind. I want to give you the chance to, I have a concern about a residential. Sometimes people aren't home, don't get notices, or, and there are some houses back there, and that's a pretty substantial reduction of the buffer. So can you talk to me about that?
Well, again, the primary motivating factor is to preserve the common open area. I mean, this is really to focus as a kind of a community amenity where people gather and can get food from one place and gather there in the middle. And if we had to get rid of that building next to the residential property, I mean, we couldn't, the development just doesn't work. So, I mean, right now, I don't think there's much of a buffer there.
Did I understand?
It looks like there is, actually.
Well,
for-
it looks like there's a lot of trees that, I guess that, and Ross, I don't know if you heard this the way I did, but what I heard Joey say was that what's required is a 20-foot buffer with no fencing at all, just plant trees, landscape. And what you're going to provide is a 10-foot buffer, but with a 6-foot masonry wall.
Correct.
And so I think, I mean, we haven't heard from the neighbor, but I mean, and I don't, this isn't a board of personal preference, so I don't know why I'm expressing mine, but I am. I would probably prefer a masonry wall in terms of sand. If I had a restaurant next to me, I'd rather have a masonry wall and 10 foot of space than 20 foot of bushes. But that's, you know, because I think to me, the masonry wall is going to knock the sound a little bit anyway.
No, and I get that.
But I don't know, but that may be fair enough.
I haven't made up my mind. I'm just trying to.
But
It's a great development. I mean, I think but I guess you're doing a lot here, and it's kind of expanded out, and, you know, now we're giving up 10 feet of buffer. You are adding the masonry wall, and, you know, is it, I guess 6 feet is, I guess, you know, those neighbors right now, if you look at the picture, and they're looking back there, and to me, it looks like between them and this, what's there now, there is at least a 20-foot buffer that's pretty thickly vegetated, and that's going to be gone, and you're going to have, you know, the masonry wall in 10 feet. So, but I also get, you know, what you're saying is that the hardship is you didn't want it. You wanted to preserve this building and kind of make it central to this development, and to do that required giving up space in the buffer as opposed to other spaces.
Correct. And in order to keep the open common area with the playground, really to provide the neighborhood amenity, that's what is driving the design.
Hi, everyone. My name is JP. I've been the architect on this project. And just kind of speaking to these points, we did look at a fair number of diagrams and way to lay out this site, and this is the only solution that we found where we could nearly satisfy the parking and maintain the sort of lively public realm possibilities of the open space that we're showing on this existing plan. So without subdividing the site in such a way that would lessen the sort of amenities we're providing the public, we could not find another way to locate the parking aside from on the far eastern edge of the site.
How would you feel about an 8-foot wall to go up a little bit taller to, 6 feet's a pretty good wall, but and I don't know what the elevations are out there. It looks pretty flat, but.
I think the basis of the 6-foot wall was specifically that's what's allowed inside the UZO for a C-standard landscape buffer. I think that was just the basis of design, kind of. I mean, an 8-foot wall, I don't know that would really change the characteristic, if that was something the board would be interested in us including.
So, and that's where my not being an architect makes a difference. So what
You know,
you're
we
saying
all
is
look over.
the 8 foot, we always look over that way or this way. There's 2 over there, so you look over there. It's not that. So is what you're saying, the 8-foot wall is just not going to add a lot in terms of the buffer? Is that?
I don't think it
Going
changes
up to 2
much.
feet, so-
Yeah, it doesn't change. It doesn't change a ton as far as in the way of buffering. 'Cause, yeah.
It's also 2 foot less of access to light for the people next to it, you know, I mean,
Yeah,
there's pluses and minuses of having that big wall right next to you. There's more privacy, but there's less open air.
Okay. Joseph, do you have a question?
Okay. You knew it was coming. At some point in time, we were going to talk about trees. I'm just looking at a whole row of hackberries. And I don't know, Mr. Cooper, you've heard me complain about hackberries for how many years now? A long time. And this might alleviate some of the concern on the buffer. Have you guys thought about putting something a little bit, besides for a great big weed that a hackberry is?
We have I'm sorry to interrupt you. We have a landscape plan. I don't know if it was provided in the packet.
I might have missed it if it was.
There's a landscape that's the minimum standard for what the C standard buffer requires for canopy trees and understory plantings that aren't hackberries. So that we have a combination of maples, dogwoods, redbuds. So it should be
So you're getting rid of the hackberries?
we're getting rid of all the hackberries.
All right. See, Ross, you didn't ask the question this time, so I thought I'd jump right in there. You knew I was, but you gave me something to do. Thank you, sir. Thank you, gentlemen. Joey, do we have
Any other?
I do.
I'm sorry, Christine.
I have a couple. So in the UZO, I guess this is a zoning question. The 10-foot buffer is allowed with the 6-foot wall. What's the philosophy behind that being allowed in the UZO rather than this area, which is likely close to the UZO, I would imagine?
Well, I think the original intent was to allow that type of design in a more urban setting. Now, granted, this is clearly an urban setting. Over time, the UZO has expanded, the geographic boundaries. But I think when we first came up with the urban zoning overlay, that was the intent, was to allow some reductions in buffer yards, because you're probably dealing with smaller lots. So, it's hard to stick a 20-foot buffer on a lot that may be only, 50 feet wide or 150 deep. But, to the extent, should this be in the UZO? Probably. That's a council decision to expand that.
Sure. Yeah, I was just
I know in
curious.
talking with Stefan, he didn't have any opposition to doing a C5 buffer. He sometimes, recommends that in certain situations.
Okay, good. Then the other question was back to parking, and so it's the building that's 3A. I can't read very well, but it's the long, I can't read my eyes are not good. I guess south of that there are 11 parking spots, and then to the left is, I guess, a bioretention pond. Is that what I'm seeing? It's not labeled as such, but, conceivably, if that didn't have to be there, you could possibly add a couple spaces there. Is there a reason that has to be in that location?
Are you saying, like, if you're continuing the row of 9 to the east there, Plan East?
I think is it a row of 11? Going
Oh,
Plan
sorry,
West?
yeah, gotcha. Yeah, feasibly, there could be opportunities to pick up 1 or 2 more parking spaces. Stormwater obviously dictates some things and site layout, but yeah, if there's opportunity to pick up another spot or 2, I don't know that when we came, the idea of the tenants that are going to be in these buildings have kind of been shifting. We've landed on our current parking count. Again, outside the UZO, we're having to calculate for the full parking requirements for restaurants. So it drove the parking number all the way up to 97. That actually had been kind of fluctuating a little bit prior to our submittal. So we landed on being 4 short. If a tenant changes, that actually may come down, but right now the tenants are probably locked in as close as possible. So 4 short, I don't think we're going to pick up 4 spaces, maybe 1 more on site. And if we look at doing 2 more on the curb, we could get closer. I think that the idea was, even if the parking was not totally finalized, to include it. In talking with Joe, he recommended going and including the fact that we're currently short. We're 4 short right now. So yeah, we could probably get a little bit closer, but we're still going to be pretty close to, or maybe short.
Okay, and we talked about on-street parking on the side road, but is it prohibited on Dickerson too? Because it seems like there's the
We probably
4-foot
wouldn't
grass
want
strip.
to street park on Dickerson.
You wouldn't? Okay, just, all right, everyone's shaking their head. I haven't been up that way in a while, just trying to find the parking here.
And if I could interject, again, we've asked for the kind of the max number of spots that, these uses would require. One option would have been to just seek the landscape buffer variance, and then if we needed a parking variance, come back. But in consultation with Mr. Hargis, we understand the board's desire to, get what you need at one time and don't bring them back piecemeal. So that's why we went with the higher parking number.
Okay. Any other questions at this point? Did you all have anything else to add?
No, sir.
Did that result in a question, or y'all?
No, we were just
Okay.
trying to verify that the hatched space there kind of by the restaurant, is that like a loading space or van space or?
Kind of in between. Yeah, that's the 10 by 50 loading zone.
Yeah.
All right. Nothing else to add? We'll close the public hearing and discuss.
Joey, if this wasn't the UZO, would the parking limits be, how would that affect the parking limits? Would they be less?
The overall parking would be less.
Yeah.
Restaurants would get 1,000 square foot exemption from parking.
Okay.
I don't think you've got office here, but like personal care services would get, like the tattoo studios, personal care, it'd get some exemptions. You'd have bus route exemptions and sidewalk exemptions. Yeah, I mean, they'd be entitled, their parking numbers would be down, just guesstimate, if we just took the exemptions the UZOs allowed, not necessarily the square footage restrictions, there's 20% less parking required of them here,
Okay.
just being in the UZO.
How close is the UZO to this property?
We're
Like,
still,
well, where does the UZO stop, do you know? Or maybe we can reopen the public hearing and let James tell us?
Yeah, that's fine, unless you're, yes.
It's Dickerson and Douglas is the intersection.
That's
And how far away is that from
pretty
you?
far.
It's
mile and a half south.
I think when we,
So it's a good old.
It's not like next door or anything.
it's not the
okay.
next intersection down, but it's Douglas. Yeah.
All right, cool. Close the public hearing again.
Yeah, that's not very close to the UZO. But frankly, I feel pretty comfortable about considering all the different uses of this site and how they'll have different people parking there at different times. I'd be pretty comfortable reducing the parking if there was some more street spaces along Lorraine provided, personally. I think that would be good for the neighborhood and good for the property, and they'd have, be a good place to drop off people for their Uber
So
and
you-
Lyft
are you
rides.
saying that, but if they did that, would they not meet their parking count? by
Well, he
having-
said they're halves, so Joey, can you confirm there are half spots essentially are what they account for in the code? Right?
Well, I'm a little bit restricted because I'm not in the UZO. It would be a 50% two you get a credit for one for every two.
Okay. So,
In that, and I kind of agree with what Mr. Cooper said. I mean, we've talked for weeks about, what I wanted to avoid was, 3 trips to this board.
Yeah.
One for parking, one for lane.
we all appreciate
I know
that.
you'll hate that. So, we figured worst case scenario. They haven't fully nailed down their tenant mix. It could shift, but we at least, the thought was you bring it to the board. If you got granted 4 spaces, at least a baseline you've got to work with. If the tenant mix comes in less, obviously we're fine. They don't need to utilize the variance, but there's just a little bit of buffer in there
I'm in alignment with Member Newton on making a condition to add street parking. I'm still on the, fence, literally, when it comes to the 6-foot masonry fence. If we get 2 more feet, there's, sound and sight that are blocked, but, it's less daylight, it's more shadow lines.
Yeah.
And I wish that we could say that the neighbor next door has had some kind of input or, contact other than a mailer.
Well, and you do get, 16 feet of car, a row of cars as a buffer, and I'd rather have a masonry wall blocking the lights of the cars pulling in and out next to me, as a resident next door, than I would a bush trying to block it. So, there's going to be 22 feet plus 16 feet plus the 10-foot between the first building and the neighbor, but a lot of that's concrete and car. It's not the trees that, But again, to me, the fence mitigates. I really don't have an issue, especially, I mean, Council Lady Van Reese is an active council person who has many times expressed approval of projects and disapproval of projects. And so, to me, that does go a long way in saying that, you know, there's been no opposition and that she supports the
Go ahead.
the request.
Well, may I ask them a question? Can we open the public
Any
hearing?
objection? We'll open the public hearing.
My question is, I think I saw on your site plan here that you had to dedicate 10 feet of your property along Dickerson. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we'll reclose the public hearing. And so that may be part of the hardship too, is that to bring the sidewalks on Dickerson up to code and giving up 10 feet there, then that may be the 10 feet that you were asking for the squeeze.
I see a hardship with the existing building as well. I mean, I think that's a pretty clear hardship right there. So I personally don't have any issue with that variance. And whether it's 6 foot or 8 foot, I think that's personal preference, I guess, but.
So I think if there was no downside to having an 8, I'd prefer the 8. I think that's fair if you're giving up 50%, but I'm hearing I'm hearing there may be some downside to an 8, and that's just not my area of expertise, so I'll just throw that out there.
Luckily, it's on the west side, so you're just losing some afternoon sun that way. But that's about it. If it was the south side, you know, where you're getting constant sun all day, then that might be a different deal. But
So you think 8 feet, de minimis downside?
yeah, I think that's fine. I think and you know, it looked. I mean, just eyeballing it, I could see getting 4 street spots along there. I don't know. Maybe that's pushing it, but
I don't know. You're saying is it Lorraine?
on Lorraine,
Side
maybe I'm
Street?
pushing it.
Well, the only reason I'm personally hesitating is because you have to work that all out with
the state,
Public Works or
and
NDOT
that's
and
a
gonna-
U.S. highway, so
Oh, is it?
Dickerson is. So
No, not Dickerson, the
yeah,
side
yeah.
street. Were you talking about
I
Dickerson?
was talking about Lorraine, but I think there's some deals with pulling on and off of a federal highway that you have to have, and I'm sure James could tell us in much more detail about that, but
Well, where did you intend for the?
on Lorraine, that's what I was
okay.
thinking, but.
I don't know how that affects how Metro wants the sidewalks done and connected and,
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we can, I don't want to.
We can do almost anything.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I'll have to personally think about that one.
Yeah. What if
I think all those are fine. I don't, you know, I mean, in the past, you know, if that was important, we've said the condition was a little bit less absolute in the sense that the condition was that the applicant would, you know, exhaust options to add 4 spaces on Lorraine. Example of exhausting options is Public Works says no.
yeah.
You know, or planning says, you know, that doesn't approve the sidewalk. And that the zoning administrator has discretion to determine whether or not the applicant has given it a fair go of trying to accomplish that goal.
Okay.
And we've done that before, and honestly, I don't know what ended up happening, you know, but people were
I think
able
that's
to
totally
it.
fair.
And,
I mean, yeah.
and I don't have an issue with the 8 foot, with the 8 foot fence.
Yeah, I guess my thought was just not, maybe they need to try harder. Well, I know they say they have tried hard to find those 4 spaces, but maybe not limiting them to the ability to find them on Lorraine. Maybe they just, I mean, we could not approve the variance request for parking and then they have to find the 4 spaces somewhere on the site, or maybe they find it on Lorraine, or, I mean, there's that possibility too, if not just not approving that part of the
Or they don't need it because they changed the use.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't,
I would disagree with that. I think that there's some waiver there that's reasonable just because of the overlapping uses of the site. How they're not going to be all used at the same time, in 99.9% of instances.
So you're in
tattoo
favor of
special
the
at lunch.
You're in favor of then the variance for 4,
Yeah.
but you would prefer.
I would
that
love it if they got some street parking there, but I don't know if there's not sufficient support for that. I'm fine with going with it as it is, honestly.
Any other thoughts? Then I'll make a motion that we approve the variances landscape buffer at an 8-foot masonry wall, working with the urban forester to adjust as needed for sightlines and any other issues that are important to the urban forester. The drive aisle was taken away. That we also approved the parking variance with the condition that the applicant make every effort to achieve 4 spaces on Lorraine, working with Public Works and planning, and should the zoning administrator determine that every effort has been exhausted by the applicant in that regard to no avail, then the parking variance is granted as requested.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any other discussion?
Did you include the drive aisle?
I think they took that away, didn't they, Joey?
Officially.
All right, then I will move that the drive aisle variance is approved as requested.
And I'll note that the hardship on the buffer and drive aisle is due to the existing structure.
Existing structure and the 10-foot right-of-way allocation
Right.
that
Yes.
is necessary to bring the Dickerson Pike sidewalk up to full code. Have a motion and a second.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Good luck.
Thank you all. Thank you.
All right, case number 3.
The next case before us, case 2022-3, Perkins Motorplex, and the appellant, Lament Holdings Tennessee LLC, owner of the property at 2714 Gallatin Pike North, requesting a variance in sidewalk requirements in the CS district. The appellant is renovating existing office facility without building sidewalks, but instead is requesting to pay into the sidewalk fund. Referred to the board under Section 1720-120, the appellant has alleged the board to have jurisdiction under Section 1740-180, Item B. Are there any parties present opposed to Case 3 on Gallatin Pike? Mr. Chairman, seeing none. Gentlemen, you'll have 5 minutes. Councilman Young, you'll have as much time as you like, but let me go through the presentation and kind of get the board up to speed. Members, as you know, the council created a Sidewalk Waiver Committee to hear appeals of the sidewalk ordinance. You all used to hear sidewalk cases over and over and over, and your question may be, why are we hearing them now? What comes out of that Sidewalk Waiver Committee decision, which is ultimately the decision rendered by me as the zoning administrator, to either grant the relief requested or modify it or deny it, and then they have the opportunity to appeal to this board if there's a disagreement as to my decision. So that's why they're before us today. The reasons for requiring sidewalks in this case are, I'm going to flip over to the actual permit itself. The zoning code requires in 1720-120 that anytime a cost of any renovation equal to or greater than 50% of the appraised value of all structures on the lot, or any expansion equal to or greater than 25% of the current appraised value, requires that sidewalks be installed. The appraised value of all structures on this property is $375,000. The building permit issued to the applicants was valued at, $783,000. Obviously, that's more than 50%, thus necessitating the need for sidewalks. The applicants filed a sidewalk waiver with the Sidewalk Committee, and in their request, they requested a full waiver initially of the of not building or paying into the sidewalk fund. This particular property, being located on an arterial street, is not allowed under the zoning code to do a payment in lieu. So the applicant filed the request. The Planning Commission, in their recommendation to me, the zoning administrator, stated that the recommendation is to disapprove. The applicant shall build sidewalks along both road frontages.
So payment in lieu is not an option?
Was not an option.
It would be an option for us. That's
It
what
is an
they're
option
asking
for you, yes, sir. But
we can give them that, but the zoning administrator can't.
All right, and this board, if you act to accept a payment in lieu of, you can grant them permission to do so. But the zoning ordinance that doesn't allow it as a matter of right. The committee and this board could grant that based off an appeal. Sorry, you're seeing the PowerPoint. Let me see if I can get out of that for just a second to show you my screen. So the applicants filed sidewalk paperwork with me. Councilman Young sent in a letter in support of the request, and you have a copy of that attached. They included that in their submittal to the Sidewalk Review Committee. Going back to the permit itself, again, the value, this is the sidewalk waiver. And then sorry, not to bore y'all with the technical aspects of our software program, but we look at the valuation of the project here was listed at $783,000. So back to the PowerPoint, the subject property, again, is located on the south margin of Gallatin Pike, just slightly west of the Hendersonville city limits, up in the Rivergate area. This is the subject property you see here. The property owners, I believe, you own this parcel and the parcel west. Is that also you guys? Okay. And then as you go west, you've got CarMax and Best Buy and the other stores toward Rivergate. To the east on this aerial photo, we head to Hendersonville, and you see there's existing sidewalk along Gallatin Pike in that. So the request was a variance from Sidewalk Requirements to not build or pay. This is looking into the subject property, the drive aisle, which you saw coming off of Gallatin, looking at the existing Perkins Motorplex. And then views of the subject property. This would be the location of the sidewalks. Sorry, keep forgetting you can't see my pointer unless I turn the sidewalks will be required along Gallatin Pike here. And then the bottom right photograph are existing sidewalks that are currently located on a portion of the property looking south or west toward Rivergate. And then a view across the road. Back to the aerial photograph, this construction would require the construction of sidewalks also along the eastern property boundary here, tying into Gallatin. So it would be full sidewalk construction along both streets. That's what the zoning code would require. That is the case record as we have it, gentlemen. And Councilman, you don't have time. You're welcome to speak at any point. And I'll turn it over to you guys. You've got 5 minutes to present your case to the board.
Thank you for seeing us today. We are here in dispute of the sidewalk, but we do have a goal where if we could pay in lieu, that wasn't an option originally for us. That would be something we would consider. I'm Nathan Higdon, General Manager at Perkins Motorplex. This is Tim Perkins, the owner of our company. And Wes Robinson, he is the contractor on our project that we are expanding at 2417 Gallatin Pike North. He is with Olympian Construction. What we found when we were doing the expansion or bidding out the expansion was regarding this sidewalk. You guys will see in the drawings that there were several obstacles in our way if we were going to continue this sidewalk down 2417 Gallatin Pike and curving around on Cumberland Hills Drive. This wasn't going to be an easy project. So I got our councilman involved. I invited him out. He's here today. We appreciate his time. Zach has spent some time with us. We went out and looked at it. We looked at the utility poles that were going to have to be moved. We've got a water main line in the way. As you curve on around, it's hard to see in this picture. It's the top. There's a sewage where you just, again, it just became such a big project that it was going to be difficult to pull off in also doing this expansion. So Zach, on his recommendation, he said, look, you need to get this engineered and see what we're actually talking about. And so we did that. We worked with Dale and Associates. They engineered out the drawings. They actually showed the different obstacles we were going to run into with this sidewalk. And so I'll turn that part over to Wes. Wes can actually speak to that more, but that is where we are at now at this point. We did get our building permit. We were very excited about that. The expansion is starting. This is where we're at now.
Yes, I'm Wes with Olympian Construction, helping the Perkins Motorplex with their project, and currently we're under construction, and we really appreciate Metro allowing us to start a building permit. I know it's kind of been hard to get through this meeting, the time it takes, and also for us to get started. It helps them out to get finished in a manner of time for their addition. Also, the distance is a little off. The engineer told me for where that sidewalk needed to be. If you go back to that photo, the measurement, I'm not too sure off the curb there, but we've noticed it's in the bank of the hill going down. So for us to do that sidewalk, the detail shows us doing a retaining wall with a handrail. And the grade is because the ground is sloping, and there's no stormwater existing on that side of the street. So we're having to redo the storm and eventually causing disruption for business for them on the corner of their lot where their cars are being placed. So that's kind of a hardship on their side of, to still be open. We're having to do all that work and connect new storm at their property.
So when I'm looking at the sidewalk that was put in, I guess, in the lot, when I'm looking at that sidewalk on the lower side, and then go back to the other photo, and I guess that's where at some point the water goes into that hole by the power line.
Correct.
But it's also right in line with the power line. How does the topography change from there to the corner?
So where my BZA sign, or where we put that, to the left of that, it drops tremendously right there, about 2 or 3 feet. And so the sidewalk is right at that point.
Is that a ditch? Is that like a water ditch for, like?
I guess that's what it's supposed to be, yes.
Okay.
Eventually the water goes underneath that entrance and then it just disperses out into that ditch.
And so that didn't happen on the other sidewalk?
No.
Okay.
The other side was completely flat when they first did that renovation. And on this side, this is the reason is if we do this, they're going to looks like they're making us have to do a handrail. If we keep that grade consistent.
And you couldn't fill in the grade because it's
correct.
Stormwater.
It's using it as stormwater. And if we did fill in the grade, the engineer told me Public Works would probably make us do an underground storm system piping and then send it out to the other side, across that other street on the other property.
That's why you want to pay in there.
Well, I'm just.
No, that makes sense. All right,
Yeah.
so, okay. So, and the obvious question, the obvious to me, because I ask, is, well, what's different than, it looks like you all put that one in. You all put that one in. How is it different than, and you explained that nicely.
Correct.
Thank you.
Did you work with your engineer, or did he provide any alternate designs for a sidewalk that wouldn't have to do all that stuff? That would get you. I mean, you got a good bit of space there between your parking lot and the road.
Right.
Did you look at any options that wouldn't require, that may not meet the official metro codes, but would give a sidewalk without having to do all that stuff?
I haven't asked that to the engineer, but I know he talked to urban forestry, and they were talking about how we would have to, install other trees and items down that road because of the renovation, which we're completely fine with that. I think it's like every 25 feet or 15 feet is what I saw. But for his sake, building that grade up, we were worried about where the water is going. And if we did fill that in, how much water does merely come down that side? Because eventually it goes to the other car dealership and then it goes down underneath the bridge. It doesn't go anywhere. So it's definitely a stormwater issue, I feel like, on our side if we did put a sidewalk there without having to do storm work. But that's kind of and also the utilities, what he mentioned, we'd have to move a lot of things right there.
All right, Councilman?
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I've lived in that area all my life, so I might be able to explain a little bit better that topography if you look at the picture at the top left of this slide, as the road is going away, the elevation changes pretty significantly because there's a creek. And so that's as the ground is getting lower towards Maskers Creek. And I wish there was a picture of the corner of, I think it's Cumberland Hills Drive is right here, the side street. On that corner is where you can really see how the parking lot stays level and how it is several feet higher than the road grade and the grass right there. And so it is several feet steep. And so I think as far as alternate sidewalk designs right there, and because there is so much space, when you get further and closer to that corner, there's going to be a wall needed, whether the sidewalk is up, a rail, whether the sidewalk sits close to the parking lot or whether it sits down low. So you would end up with a sidewalk potentially that's more elevated than the street. I wish there was so in that picture, you can see at the bottom left corner of the property.
Councilman, let me put some topography on this map.
Sure, that would.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on Google Street View here too. That helps.
Oh, perfect.
I have a picture here too of me being out there of that area, if y'all would like to see that. But that shows it right there, yeah.
What is that box on the corner? Like what is that box?
That's an outlet of stormwater that comes out right there. And then the other thing I'll say why I'm happy to support this applicant is if you do look at their current operation they are not like several car dealerships in the Galton Road area. They're not paved out to the street. They take pride in the appearance. And so I know that this is not them trying to necessarily get out of a sidewalk. They're okay with building a sidewalk if it didn't have all these unique characteristics of this particular corner, especially because you have the power lines as you've seen and mentioned, and then you also have your water right there. And so I think you'd either have a jagged sidewalk going through there or having to have NES and AT&T move their poles. Yeah. And I think it's worth mentioning in one of the pictures as you're looking away towards the creek, that creek is actually the county line. And so between Cumberland Hills Drive and the county line is another car dealership, and that's it. And so at that county line, the bridge going over that creek is not wide enough for TDOT to ever put a sidewalk in. And then once you're over into Hendersonville, there aren't sidewalks. It's a couple other car dealerships and a barbecue joint, or barbecue restaurant, excuse me. I was using some of my Goulitsville technical words.
A barbecue joint sounds a whole lot more appetizing than a
Yes.
barbecue restaurant,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Well,
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I've opposed several sidewalk waivers along Galton Road especially, and other areas. But this one, I think it makes more sense, especially with several of these obstacles right there in the right-of-way that they'd be having to deal with.
Okay.
And that was a little spooky for me because I didn't know Zach very well. So reaching out to him, you're like, okay, because this project is starting to look, ugh. And he comes over and sits with us, and he sits with me, and we go out and look, and he's just like, what was the word you used? Some type of...
Oh, I said that, given everything going on right here, this turns into more of like a public works capital project.
I was like, that's what it feels like. And so going through all this, but he's been great. He's been very helpful in this. Wes has been amazing, but we do appreciate you guys looking at this. We do take great pride in our appearance, led by Tim Perkins. Our grounds are always kept to a 10 at all of our stores, but this one in particular. So really, like that grass looks really pretty, right? But we do take great pride in how we look, and we feel like we've only improved the property as we've gone. Since 2012, we've opened in 2012 at that location, sold our first car Halloween night. So,
Any other questions for the applicant? Did you have anything else to add?
I'll add one final thing. When this was originally filed to be go before Mr. Hargis and the committee, I actually expressed that I was against the waiver, and I had not visited the site and really understood some of these characteristics of the property right there. And so after I had actually visited the site and saw it in person, I think it made more sense to me why I feel like this meets a hardship and why I can get behind them paying in lieu of, especially because I know the payment in lieu of fees don't get to stay within my council district. They stay in our sidewalk pedestrian benefit zones, but I'd much rather have and this is me being a little greedy, I'd much rather have that payment in lieu of to be used on filling in on gaps of existing sidewalk networks than a sidewalk here that would not be walked on, because presumably if you're in that area of town, they're all car lots, and typically I suppose you have a trade-in if you're going to the car lot.
Yeah, right.
They don't take Adidas or Nike.
All right.
But thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank y'all.
All right, thank you. We will close public hearing. I tend to agree with the councilman. I mean, it is, as a business owner, I think it feels like the situation where it's an undue burden and unique in terms of its topography and infrastructure and the way the land changes, and they're not asking to get out of paying, and I think that's, to me, a reasonable request.
Is that a motion?
Did you have something?
I was going to say that I have projects where NES poles are moved all the time. But if the councilman supports them and he knows his district and he can use the money better elsewhere, I will support this.
Any other thoughts? Then I'll move that we approve the variance as requested and allow the applicant to pay into the sidewalk fund rather than the required build.
Second.
A motion of a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. Any opposed? That motion passes. All right, good luck. Thank you. And we'll take the board is already taking a break, so I will go with the board and call for a break. We'll come back in about.
You were getting ready to lose your quorum, I think.
We'll reconvene in just a few minutes. 5 minutes.
Next case 2022-007, Andrew Michael, the appellant and owner of the property at 2905 Woodlawn Drive, requesting a variance in rear and side setback requirements in R10. The appellant seeking to permit already constructed second residence. There's more to that story, and I'll let the applicant get to it. But referred to the board under Section 1712.020A. The appellant has alleged jurisdiction under Section 1740.180, Item B. Are there any parties present opposed to Case 7 on Woodlawn? Seeing none. All right, Mr. Poole, let me go through our presentation, and I'll turn it over to you guys. Subject property you see is located on the east margin of Woodlawn Drive, just south of Sharondale. This is an aerial photograph of the property. And the site plan, I'll come back to that, but the nature of the two variance requests before us are a side and rear setback. I'll let Mr. Poole talk about the issues with their contractor, but kind of long and short is I think the intent by the prior contractor was to do a dadu on this property. And as such, this property is not, does not meet the requirements of a dadu. I think the initial request or thought behind it was this board could grant a lot area variances as you've done for lots that are insufficient, but the council has removed that power from this board. So I had to basically declare this structure a second dwelling, which they are duplex eligible. So one saving grace is they are eligible for a second dwelling. The downside is the building under construction doesn't comply with the setback provisions, so we have to apply the full setbacks to this structure, which would be 20 on the rear and 5 on the sides.
It does meet, if it were a dadu.
It actually would meet those requirements. If this were a detached accessory dwelling unit, it would meet the setbacks.
So if it was a slightly larger lot, we wouldn't be here.
Yes, that is true.
And then, I'm sorry, Joey,
Yeah.
I know you're in the middle of the presentation, but will you go back one slide? And there's it looks like a building already there. Is this that building, or has it been added on to?
I'll let the applicants, I think it's a different structure, but if Mr. Poole, if y'all could cover that during your portion, I believe.
Okay, so we'll ask that when it's your turn. But but something's there. So it's either been there a long time, or they added on in a spot where something always has been. Okay.
Yes, sir. So again, site plan, the view from Woodlawn, looking at the subject site, and renovations are currently occurring on the property. Photographs in the upper left to the toward Sharondale and away from Sharondale, and then this is the structure. It's under construction. There, you see the side setbacks. The view on the bottom right photograph is the view looking from the interior of the property, and along the rear of this structure. Here is where the rear setback variance would occur. And it's not the entire structure, just a portion of that building back here is inside that 20-foot mark. Again, in the upper left photograph, about 2 feet of that structure is in the full side setback. So I'll come back to this slide and turn it over to Mr. Poole and his appellants, and state your names and present your case to the board. You'll have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, board. Quan Poole, here on behalf of Andy and Corinne Michael, Bone McAllister, or Spencer Fain Bone McAllister now, 511 Union Street, Suite 1000. I think the first thing I'll say is I'm happy to be back before this board on just a traditional variance request and not some of the complicated legal arguments or zoning administrator interpretations that we've had over the last 30 to 45 days. But Mr. Hargis gave a really good overview. Basically, the reason we're having to pursue this variance request, it's a number of reasons. One, the property is 340 square feet short of being 15,000 square feet. And so that's one of the requirements of being able to have a detached accessory dwelling unit or DADU. So they're about 340 square feet short. When you look at the property, the lot, is a little bit odd shape. It's sort of diagonally placed, and I don't know if that's one of the reasons why it ended up being a little bit short of the 15,000 square feet. Obviously at some point in time they lost some of their square footage to widen Woodland Avenue, so that roadway. So maybe that's where they lost some square footage as well. And so you do have a little bit of a different shaped lot, not a traditional 4 square. But then also, if you look in the back, and you can sort of see, if you look in the packet, there are a few large trees that are back there in the rear of that property. You see that they're sort of overhanging on the structure itself. And so so when we're talking about reasons for a variance, and you can see it there on the site plan, had the structure been moved over some, it's quite possible you would have lost one of those mature black walnut trees that are there towards the rear of the structure. In addition, upon the timing of this, I'm not exactly sure. I'll let my clients, when they speak to you, talk a little bit about that. There's also an old septic system that is right there in the middle of the property. There's a picture of it that was included in the package as well that they discovered. That's right there in the middle of the rear of the property, that would have caused some complications had the structure been able to move over somewhat as well.
Are you talking about the side setback on that?
Yes, okay. Yes. And then finally, I think that it qualifies under the exceptional and extraordinary circumstances. Basically what happened is they contracted with a builder to build this structure. In addition to doing the renovation on their home, he was also supposed to do the DADU. He told him that he was licensed, bonded, everything was ready to go. And he told him that he had secured permits for the renovation and for this accessory structure back in, I believe, February. They started to have some trouble, and they brought in some people to do some second opinions, and they brought in people just to check exactly what was going on. Turns out he never pulled any permits. There was some issue with his bonding and his licensing, and at that point, I want to say the structure is essentially what you see that you have today. They were probably over $100,000 committed to that structure at that point, in between that and the renovations to the home. And they were alerted that not only did he not pull permits, but that he did not build the compliant structure. He had gone in and applied for a permit that would have just been an out structure without the habitable space. So the location would have been fine, but no one could have lived in it. And they said, hey, that was the whole point. Now, had he come in originally and applied for the correct structure, he would have been told that he wasn't eligible, he couldn't be in that place. Our clients could have gone back to the drawing board, done something different, and figure out something else. But as such, with him starting work, doing significant work, they were sort of at a spot where they didn't really have a whole lot of options. And so the current configuration you have here, they stopped construction, obviously, filed for this appeal to come back before the board. And so I think giving those, that's I would say, exceptional and extraordinary circumstances specific to this case that would lead to the granting of a variance. And I think I'm already a little bit over my time, so I'm going to let Corinne speak to you all here.
Thank you for letting us share our story. We purchased our first home in May of 2007, and that's the house that's under appeal today. So we've been living in this home for almost 15 years. We had a 1-year-old when we moved in. We now have 5 children, and they're 15 to 6 years old. So we've outgrown the home. We looked into purchasing something else in the neighborhood we live in. We love where we live. 2 of our children walk home from school. Our daughter dances at Centennial Park 5 days a week. Andy has a 1-mile commute to work. So it was important to stay in the neighborhood. But the prices in the city have outpaced us. And so we decided our best option would be to add on to our home. We had architectural plans drawn, and we included the detached dwelling, thinking it would give us the flexibility to house aging parents in the years to come. We signed a contract with the builder in the fall of 2020, and he informed us on February 3rd, 2021, that we had received our permit for the entire project. We started work on both the main house and the detached structure at that time. We subsequently had some concerns with framing and foundation questions we had. We brought in the architect, and he raised some concerns that were not addressed by the builder. It was just a snowball after that point. But we did discover after the fact that he had not applied for a permit for the detached structure until August of 2021. He started construction in February with the main house. It was our assumption that it was a single permit for the whole project. We have terminated with that builder, and we have got a suit filed for arbitration, which our date for that is at the end of April. We've been devastated by this. It's been just a nightmare for our family. And we had hoped this would be a kind of a middle-of-the-road approach for us to expand living space for our family, stay in our neighborhood. But it's been just more difficult than we could have ever imagined. And we haven't come to ask for this variance first. We're seeking a legal recourse, but we do hope that we can finish our project fully. And if you would grant approval, then it would allow our new builder to finish the project that we had planned. We've talked to our neighbors, our adjacent neighbors, and none of them is in opposition. We also spoke with our councilman, Russ Pulley, and he said that normally what he does is just to remain neutral unless there's opposition. So he didn't express any opposition from anybody. As you deliberate, we ask that you would consider the legal grounds and then also just consider our history in Nashville, our history with our home, our desire to stay in the neighborhood, and the difficult circumstances that we've been placed in based on the relationship with this builder. Thank you.
I have a question that I'd asked earlier about the overhead. Looked like there was a building there before. So are you building kind of on the same footprint of an existing garage?
There was an existing garage there before. So yes, it's a similar footprint. The foundation was not sufficient to support a new structure, so we had to start over with a new slab.
But it's in the same spot. It goes further back to the back, but it's in the same spot on the side?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions for the applicant?
I just wanted to, so I passed forward, I've actually forgot to mention this. That's an email from one of the neighbors. They mistakenly, well, I shouldn't say mistakenly. They sent the email of support directly to Russ Pulley's Nashville.gov website instead of sending it to bza@nashville.gov. So I don't think it ever was included in your board packet. But they have spoken to all three neighbors, both neighbors on all three of the neighbors support the project. And this neighbor who lives, I believe, on the west side.
Is she on the side of the garage? No. She's on the other side, okay.
But she sent in a letter of support, but they've had extensive conversations with the neighbor on the side of the garage as well.
Okay. Any other questions?
Did you submit the name of this contractor to the Board of Licensing Contractors?
Our legal counsel has suggested that we proceed with the legal case first, and then there isn't the intention to do that. Yeah.
Any other questions?
You should always listen to your lawyer.
But believe me, we wanted to do that really early and had a lot of ideas about that, but she's encouraged us to wait on all those kinds of things. But yeah, it's been really hard.
Understood. Mr. Poole, anything else?
That's all I have.
All right, we will close the public hearing.
Well, I don't think this is an unreasonable ask, given the fact that they are allowed to build a second dwelling on the site. They do have a slightly odd-shaped lot. we do not want the tree to be taken away if the structure was to be moved. And so I would be in favor of the request.
Is that a motion?
I will move to approve the variance request due to all those reasons, which were the odd-shaped lot and the protection of the existing tree.
Have a motion, have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye, raise your hand. Any opposed? That motion passes. Good luck.
Thank you.
Oh, and good to see you. All right.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
All right, next case. Number 9.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. The next case, case 2022-009, Christopher Escuela is the appellant. Scott Keller Ventures LLC, owner of the property located at 2925 Scott Avenue, requesting a variance from the sidewalk requirements in R6. The appellant's constructing a new single-family residence without building sidewalks, but is instead requesting to contribute in lieu of construction along Scott Avenue. Refer to the board under section 1720-120. Are there any parties present opposed to case 9 on Scott Avenue? Okay, we do have one gentleman present. Both sides will have 10 minutes to present their case. I'll go through the photographs. You've seen, kind of seen the process at this point. So the subject property is located on the northwest corner of Keller and Scott Avenues. It is in the R6 zone district. This is our subject property. This lot consists of a horizontal property regime on the property. Oops. So you see other developments along the property. The sidewalk requirements under the zoning code are triggered on Keller due to the construction of sidewalks on Keller. This lot was not eligible for in lieu of construction under the EZO standard, under the sidewalk requirements here. The construction of the sidewalks required to be along both Keller and Scott. As you see from the aerial photograph, the appellant, there is a stormwater stream or drainage ditch that runs through the property here. You see in the aerial photograph. Again, these are the site plans submitted for the building permits. Shows the front unit and then the back unit requested here. Again, that stormwater portions here. The applicant came to the Sidewalk Waiver Committee and the plans were reviewed by both planning and stormwater, and the request, the recommendation to me from that was that yes, there is a stormwater feature running through the property, but so stormwater engineers believe that they could pipe that portion down at the bottom and construct the sidewalks in that portion along Scott. And I'll go back while the applicant's talking and double check the notes from the waiver there. But this is the view from Keller looking north. Scott is on the right-hand side of the property here. Views along Keller. And then turning north on Scott Avenue. And this is the portion of the property along Scott, as you see in the next photograph, view along that property line is where the sidewalks are required to be constructed. Again, the applicant's requesting to contribute in lieu of construction and appealed my decision to this board. So with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant. And again, you'll have 10 minutes. I'll keep track of the time here at the desk. I'll let you know at 5 minutes and at 3 if you'd like to save some period of your 10 minutes for rebuttal to the other gentleman's testimony.
Sure.
I do advise you to do that. So.
All right. Thank you for seeing me. Appreciate it. I'm not a great public speaker, and I've never done this before, so I kind of just had this packet as basically my speech. When we first put this lot under contract in October of 2022, it came with a laundry list of items.
Sorry, would you state your name and address? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry. Christopher Escuela, and my address?
Yes.
Yes, sir. I live at 562 Neely's Bend Road in Madison, Tennessee.
Okay.
When we first put this property under contract in October of 2022, it came with a laundry list of items from Metro Stormwater in order to make it eligible to build on. That list is kind of what you see there. We went through all of those items diligently like they asked. And in line item number 10, it talked about sidewalks. So I made sure that our civil engineer at Dale and Associates double and triple checked with Metro codes regarding sidewalk requirements for that build. You'll see on February 8th, Dale reached out to, he reached out to Public Works in regards to sidewalks, and if we could pay an in lieu of fee instead of. Public Works responded and told us that we need to confirm with Metro zoning regarding the sidewalk in lieu of eligibility. We got a reply from Walter Morgan at Codes that said sidewalks would be required along Keller Avenue and the in lieu of option would be available along Scott Avenue. Now, this is counterintuitive to what would normally be allowed since Scott is a collector street. So Dale and Associates double-checked with Codes to make sure that that was correct in what they were saying to us. And he wanted to just be clear about that. And we got another response from Walter at Codes that said someone has already installed sidewalks along that street on Keller, so no sidewalks along Scott Avenue on that block. The option for in lieu of is allowed on Scott and not Keller. Again, a third time, he reiterated the fact, I will grant you this unique because of the fact that the client can pay the in lieu of on the collector street and not the minor local street. So, of course, we went off of that guidance. And so, apologies for all that kind of back and forth narrative, but I feel like that Codes had its chance to sort of weigh in on this now. We went through and we got a grading permit and it was signed off on. We even had our pre-construction meeting with Stormwater and even began work on the property. And now they're coming back and asking us to sort of change this, and that's actually not what's allowed. I feel like, a lot of infrastructure improvements are being made on this lot for it because of the stormwater, recording the easement and installing some of the drainage features. We complied with stormwater and got a grading permit as requested. We tried to plan for this and asked and double-checked with Codes regarding this. We're not trying to get out of paying a sidewalk waiver or get out of doing sidewalks. We're purely just trying to do what was told we would have to do prior. And everything the grading permit was approved. The pre-construction meetings were completed and it was fully issued. It just doesn't seem fair to us now that the building permit is being held up when it was signed off on the grading permit on 9/20. And I'll leave it at that for now.
So, all that said, and it sounds like a frustrating process, why can you not build sidewalks on Scott?
Well, now my bank budget, we've sort of already gone through the process, so now we'd have to amend the grading permit, redo the whole site revisions, and I can't now go back to my bank and say, oh, actually, this isn't what we're building, now we're building this, after we had gotten sort of the approval to build something. And so,
But I mean, what would you have to, what specifically would you have to change? Help me understand, you've got 2 units there. That you already have foundations in, and how would any of that change?
Well, we would have to rework our site plan to account for the sidewalks, and then we would have to amend our grading permit that was issued already, that's already been issued for it. And you have to forgive me, I'm not a builder, I'm just the developer, and so, I'm just a little bit, I'm a little bit perplexed, I guess, why it would sort of go back now after there already was approval initially, and why now it's not. I'm not sure if that's something that is fairly common, that things are approved and then all of a sudden they say, oh, wait, actually, no, we're just kidding. That's actually not approved. after we've got stuff signed off. Again, this is my first time going through it, so I'm not sure how I prepare for something like this. If I do the due diligence up front, we ask the questions, we get things signed off and go through the sort of checks and balances of everything. And then now it's, oh wait, that's actually not correct. This is how it has to be done. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're hearing your case because it showed up on our docket. You know, we didn't have anything to do with any of the process before, but
yeah,
it's not uncommon. Let's say it's not that common, but it happens where, you know, sometimes mistakes are made. And I can't say that, yeah, I've heard your experience and seen your emails, and, you know, that we do get cases where, and I don't know, I will ask codes about what's an official sign off and what's not. You know, is it, you know, someone sending an email? Again, if I'm not saying I would do anything differently from what you said you did,
sure,
you know, based on your emails. But this board has had cases where, you know, there was a misinterpretation by an examiner that ended up coming to us to ask for, you know, the same thing that you are asking for, some type of relief. But I guess and you know, maybe some of my architect colleagues will help me out on knowing, well, I know, on really understanding, you know, why you can't build sidewalks. I totally get the unfairness piece, and I also get the burden of having to jump through more hoops than you weren't
than we already
planning
have
on it, and that you hadn't already done. But, you know, from our perspective, it's, you know, topography and, you know, other hardships that, you know, relate to the land itself that are, you know, are the easier hardships for us to respond to. And so that's, if you could tell us a little bit more about that, if there are additional burdens that, you know, because I mean, your council person and several neighbors have said, this is a super busy street. We really need sidewalks on this street. And that's why the question was, outside of all of the fairness-related questions, why can't there be a sidewalk?
And I think, you know, I think what we're trying to get down to is, what are the great obstacles in your way? I get, yeah, like you said, changing your plan, but what are the primary obstacles to be able to build it versus not? What is what's the difference there?
Yeah, well, it sounds like financial isn't a hardship, right? Yeah, so, I mean, I guess my question is just, I'm not sure how this gets so far through after checking all of this, and, you know, and now here we are. I mean, it's just hard for me to plan for these kinds of things. You know, I'm not a national home builder with, you know, huge pockets, and I try and follow all the rules and go through all the checks and balances here, and now, for some reason, despite all of that, it's still not good enough. So, I mean, I guess the hardships, I'm not sure, because we were never told that we would have to build sidewalks there, so I haven't gone through. I mean, I just believe, you know, if I ask something, if codes and stuff gets signed off, I would expect that to have been, you know, the correct thing, especially when it comes to something like this where, you know, there is some back and forth, and it does go through some channels, and this wasn't just one person. I guess I'm just a little perplexed as to how now it's not okay.
And I know that financial gain is not a hardship, but I'm assuming that it's more costly to build the sidewalks than to pay the ALUA fund.
Yeah, it is, yeah, definitely more expensive to do that. We are obviously doing sidewalks on Keller, and we would have been okay doing sidewalks on both had that been asked of us from the beginning, we could have planned for it. But, you know, for them to tell us one thing, and now once we get going after the fact to now change it and ask us to now change it, I'm just not sure how that happens.
And Mr. Hargis, can you confirm so that he did have a approval on this and it was revoked? Is that, I'm trying to understand exactly what happened
well, it's
there.
not exactly the full story. He does have an issued grading permit. I was just looking at permits here. Building permits have not been issued on this, and it's held pending the outcome of this, so we know kind of which way we're going in this. But I'm sorry, I'm sitting here looking at the screen. You can't see what I'm showing you. Hang on 1 second with me. Get out of. So if I can back up a little bit to give some context. So we rely on a tool that's designed, a sidewalk map that tells us, hey, when we click on a lot, is there a requirement for sidewalks or not? We get a note here. So in his case, I looked up his, and sidewalks are required because the parcel's in the EZO. But the next paragraph says you are eligible to contribute provided there's not a substandard sidewalk on the existing property or within the sidewalk block face. So what the examiners are been tasked to do by me is to, if I look at this map, I read, oh, you're eligible to pay in lieu of. But when you look at the actual aerial photos, and you notice on this one, this house, 4 houses down here, constructed sidewalks. So as the applicant was talking, I went back to look at their permits to see, okay, what happened here? Why are they building sidewalks and the others didn't? And this note pops out to me that the applicant chooses to install sidewalks. So that choice that occurred at the middle of 18, probably came into 19, is not reflected in our tool that we use. So that's why I tell the examiners, go look at the aerial photos and see what's being constructed. This builder, this person 4 houses down was eligible to contribute in lieu of, but chose to build. And we get that sometimes because perhaps the in lieu of fee is more than what it would actually cost to construct the sidewalk. So they choose that. But once that choice is made, they've now made the choice for the entire block.
Right. But that's for the Keller side. He's building on Keller. What about on Scott? I'm trying to understand that.
Corner lots on those, when you are required to build them, you're required to build them along the entire frontage, both streets. So the sidewalk on Keller wraps Scott as well. When you look at the Scott map, they're obviously, let me flip up here on the north end. His block face on Scott is just the 2 parcels that are involved here. But if you come to the intersection of Scott and McGavick, you've got existing sidewalks that turn the corner on Scott. So this is the other trigger of why they're required on Scott. This would be Scott looking to the south. Okay. To the extent my examiner, provided wrong information, it is a mistake. But unfortunately, mistakes from our side, or there's not detrimental reliance upon that. I mean, if we issue the permit and it's in error, we've got to get it corrected to, prior to, now there is a vesting argument at some point. Obviously, we don't believe this builder's vested because we've issued no permit. We've held permits subject to it.
But you have a grading permit, right?
Yeah, grading permit does not allow them to construct anything.
Okay.
Other than do site work or utility work that the stormwater office requires of them. Yeah. To the extent that if foundations have been installed on here, it doesn't, let me look again, but if foundation work has been done or installed, it's done at owner's risk. So
no, there's been just the site work. We haven't done anything.
When I looked at the site, I didn't see that any foundations had been worked. There's some site work that's being done for stormwater.
Correct.
All right. Any other? Okay, Tom.
When did you prepare your construction budget for the bank?
Let's see, we closed in March, so we began January, March, probably April, May.
Okay.
We were under contract, not purchasing the lot, getting through all of this work so that we could have a very clear idea about the costs that were going to be involved with this, so that we could make sure that the price that we were going to pay for it was commensurate with the amount of work that it was going to take in order to be able to build on this lot. And so once we had, thoroughly checked everything and felt comfortable with what was required is when we decided to close. And then there shortly after is when we finalized our bank budget and then went with our construction loan after getting the approval of everything and having everything submitted and looked over and finalized.
So is this the first project you've ever done?
This is the second project I've ever
Second
done.
project. Did you have any changes or amendments to your construction budget in your first time?
We did not.
Okay. Have you been around people that have? I mean, this isn't the first gig you've ever had in your life, right?
No, I have. I work in real estate. So
Okay, so you work in real estate, so you know it's not that unusual to have to amend or modify a construction budget in terms of doing work.
Sure. Ideally, it happens prior to project start, but yes, absolutely.
And they happen as you go along. What happens if you had hit rock?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that's not really a major obstacle, is it?
I'm sorry?
Is it a major obstacle to go back to your lender and make a change or amend the budget because of this?
We will find out. I'm not sure. Like I said, I've never done it before, so I don't know.
Well, I've been doing this for about 41 years, and it's usually never real terribly difficult to change a construction budget with your lender if your lender knows what they're doing. At least that's my experience, but then what do I know? Other than I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just trying to understand, because the only thing I've heard from you is it doesn't seem fair, and it's a little inconvenient, and yes, arguably there was a mistake made, but if you stay on your project and the land hasn't changed.
No.
It looks the same today probably as when you bought it back last year, and things happen and changes occur, and unless you're too tight on your budget, I'm just hearing money, or it's not fair to me.
Okay.
And I'm not hearing a compelling reason to do something different, to say, okay, well, you don't have to pay into the in lieu, or you don't have to build sidewalks or anything like that. It's a decision you're making, and you're weighing your options, and what you're picking is, I don't want to do either. So, I mean, that's just my observations.
Any other questions for the applicant? So, did you have anything else to add at this point?
No.
Okay. All right, we'll close the public hearing. I hate the situation that they're in, because.
Oh, wait, we had opposition.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Good grief. That's the second thing. Forgot the consent agenda. And
It's our first meeting of the year, so.
I know. Yeah, just,
I've never seen you.
I think you're going to have to.
I'm so glad you're human.
Well, I think you're going to have to give me 30 days notice to be kicked off the board, because my term is up in 30 days. I'm sorry. So, sir, you'll have, the opposition will come in and be able to talk, and then you'll have time to rebut that, and then we'll close the public hearing. So if you would just step aside, and the opposition that's against this variance request come forward and hit the button, make the red light turn on, state your name, address, and why you're opposed to this variance request.
My name's Derek Carpenter. I live at 1305 Litton Avenue, 37216. So I actually walk on this street every day with my dog, and it is a bypass for McGavick Pike, considering that there is a railroad crossing not too far from there. Yeah, you may be able to see it on the aerial view, the parcel viewer maybe. But whenever that crossing whenever there's a train on the crossing, people will diverge onto Scott and take an alternate route. But that's really the only way to go without having to go backwards, back to Riverside. So it creates a lot of traffic when that happens. And people are usually upset because they have to turn and go somewhere else. So they're speeding, or they're just, it's really pretty bad. But there's nowhere to walk. There's no sidewalk on either side. So, you know, you can kind of stand your ground and walk on the road, or you might get run off the road and, you know, have to go into the dirt. But there's also, you know, that is a collector avenue. And so I think it is because of that, and also because there's a bus route that traverses that section. And, you know, when the bus is coming, you can't really walk on the road. You have to get off the road because there's no room. So yeah, it's very dangerous. But I think I'll add, you know, I was looking at the overhead view of that plan. It looks like he's got 9 feet to construct a sidewalk on that. So, and that he's got this giant culvert there for the stormwater. I don't see why he couldn't just, you know, pour a slab over that. But I mean, I'm not an expert.
I'm sorry, based on your opinion, walking the site, you don't have an obvious or see an obvious topography reason that would keep him from building a sidewalk other than this, you mentioned the storm ditch, but.
Yeah, and there's a big culvert there. I think that would be fine. I don't really see, I mean, up until that 9 foot, I mean, it does kind of go down, and there's that big ditch in there, but I mean, up close to the road, it's not really, he might have to do a little bit of fill, but I don't think it would be too prohibitive. Now, as you go down the street, this next corner, the corner that's adjacent to him, there's kind of a berm built up there, and the house sits on top of it. And so if the city came through and constructed a sidewalk there, they might have to put a retaining wall in place to carry it on. But that's, you know, that's future stuff, so.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Carpenter? All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right. We'll hear back from the applicant.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any arguments against that, and I don't have anything against sidewalks. That's never been the issue here. I think that we would have been very happy to build sidewalks on both sides of the road had that been what we originally thought would have needed to be done. And so I was, you know, I'm not here to try and argue with anyone. I'm just purely for my own knowledge, I guess, trying to understand. And so I could, I guess, plan for this in the future. That if, you know, we get approvals and it goes through the checks and balances and things get signed off, it still doesn't mean it's set in stone. It could be changed in the last minute, and so that we can try and plan for that, or I guess maybe next time I can check a fourth time or try and figure out if there's another department just to quadruple check.
And I want to just clarify, I mean, you don't have really any approvals to have a building permit. That's, you know, I know you have a grading permit, that's one thing, but the building permit's the real kicker there. That's what goes through all the checks and balances and all that kind of stuff. And it's a learning process, I know.
And it's what triggered us being here.
Yeah, that's what triggered us being here. So, yeah, I will say, as an architect, you should be able to rely on information you get from your authorities having jurisdiction in a project. But that's, yeah.
All right. Anything else? All right. We'll close the public hearing and discuss. And as I was saying before, I started to ignore Mr. Carpenter that, again, apologies again, that, you know, I hate the situation because I feel for him. And at the same time, I know, you know, you feel like you've jumped through all the hoops, and I think there's evidence that says, hey, I've sent the emails and the correspondence, and what we're doing is what we think is right. And yet your point a second ago was that, you know, it's not until you really go through that final process where it's triggered. And even then, there are very few cases, but there are cases that, where things get overlooked, and, you know, we might get one every couple of years. I mean, it's not that often that those come about to this board, but they happen, and this didn't even get to that point. But I have a tough time with, since applicant has said they would have done it and can do it, and council lady wants it, and we've gotten testimony that the street's busy enough to, should require it. I have a tough time, even though I sure would hate to have to have gone through that myself. And I don't think it's particularly, I mean, I think I sympathize with this sense of fairness that was expressed. But I haven't heard a compelling reason not to build the sidewalk. But others may disagree.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is, I mean, he has multiple in writing from code saying that he wouldn't have to do it. I know it's not a code review process, and if we held codes to everything they said in emails, then they would just never email us, because then, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, that's why you have to go through the primary review process. So I'm torn on it a little bit, I must say, just having to deal with a lot of authorities having jurisdiction and how fickle they can be sometimes.
Any other?
I share. I regret that it happened to the applicant, but in the course of development, to me, it seems like this is just not a major hiccup, and I don't see any hardship, so I move to deny the application.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor of that motion, say aye and raise your hand. Those opposed, that motion passes. All right, next case. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, clarity on, there's clarity for the motion. Who was opposed to the denial? Mr. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad I fixed that. I had you as the second on the motion, so. Okay, Mr. Chairman, our next case, case 2022-10. Jeffrey Porter is the appellant, U-Haul Real Estate Company, owner of the property located at 241 North First Street, requesting a variance from sidewalk requirements in the IR district. The appellant seeking to rebuild a storage facility without building sidewalks or paying in lieu of fee referred to the board under section 1720-120. The appellant has alleged the board would have jurisdiction under section 1740-180, item B. The applicant is present. There are no parties opposed. The folks in the gallery are the next applicants in the case. So let me, Mr. Porter, pull up the PowerPoint and we'll get started. The subject property is located, you see, at the end of North First Street and Jefferson Street, just north of downtown. The prior use of the building is a U-Haul facility. That facility was engaged in the rental of U-Haul trucks and trailers and towing packages and such. It was severely damaged, even destroyed in the tornado of March. Has that been 2010? 2020, excuse me, yeah, I'm way off. In 2020. The zoning code does provide the ability for me to waive sidewalk requirements. In the instances of natural disasters, the bomb downtown, 2nd Avenue. So if there's some act beyond the applicant's control, I can waive sidewalk requirements. The original request, and I've talked to the applicant about this, if they were constructing what they had previously, I would have waived these requirements. The request is to build a new self-storage service facility, approximately 14,000 square feet on the property. So that change of use and that reconstruction far exceeds what was damaged or destroyed. Our office determined that sidewalks are required. The applicant did file a sidewalk waiver with the committee. Planning's recommendation was echoed mine in that given this corridor, and you've got a memo from Assistant Director Bob Lehman at Planning, and I'll pull it up here on the screen to echo some of the words they've stated. But The major collector street plan would require a 10-foot sidewalk and 10-foot grass strip along the entire frontage of North First, and a 10-foot sidewalk and 4-foot grass strip, I believe, along the northern property boundary, given, again, I'll show you, 10-foot sidewalk and 10-foot grass strip here, and then on this portion it'd be 10-foot with a 4-foot grass strip. As you see in the subject plan, that would cut into the proposed building that's being located here. But look at the subject site again. This is my view earlier this week. The site has been cleared. The gentleman has moved his business elsewhere for the time being. This is a view looking north toward the interchange there at I-65. And then the next photograph's looking south along North First Street, headed toward the Titans Stadium. The bottom right photograph is north. North First becomes Dickerson Pike once it crosses here. And then again, views of the site. This would be at the intersection of North First. The bottom right photograph is the guys, if I could, just for, pardon me one second, if I could get y'all to step outside if y'all need to talk, appreciate that. And then a view on the northern part of the property in the bottom right photo, again, views across the intersection there. But reading from Mr. Lehman's memo to the board, the applicants requested a building permit for replacement of a previous 1,800 square foot structure, an associated truck rental lot with a 14,000 square foot self-storage facility. Relief from the expense of sidewalk construction is contemplated in 1720-120A3 of the zoning code in cases of natural disaster, but planning's position, and I'll share as mine too, that the relief is appropriate to allow a property owner to rebuild what was lost, but this rebuild is far in excess of what was originally there. So in my determination, that sidewalks need to comply under the code. So with that, that's the cases I have it. There's no opposition present. I'll turn over to Mr. Porter to present his case to the board.
Good afternoon. I'm Jeff Porter. I live at 1398 Station Drive in Goodlettsville. Just coming today to appeal the decision of the waiver for the sidewalk request denial. That location, we've been in operation since 1975. We've owned that building a very long time, been through a lot. It was flooded when we had the flood, 12 years ago now. Then we, back in 2020, the tornado came through, it completely demolished the building. There was really nothing we could do, but we cleared the lot. We were back in business out of a construction trailer within 3 weeks, so we can serve the community with trucks and trailers and help with the community cleanup, whatever they needed. When we're looking to what we need to do with this property, whether it's rebuild or repurpose it, we really look at our business plan, our business model that we have for our facilities now. We've really outgrown that facility, and we try to find a really good use for it. The best use that we could come up with would be a unmanned self-storage facility, which is what we presented. Before I got too far into it, I met with Councilman Sean Parker, showed him our idea, kind of what the design, what it would look like. He was completely on board with it, so led me to here. And when I was looking, doing our site plan, looking at the sidewalk requirements, and I saw the waiver requirements was, storm damage. So I was like, all right, I got to build sidewalks on this already small property. And so that's where I'm here. It's the issue coming forth with building the sidewalks is the property's already so small, and the sidewalk requirements, there's 20 feet, and I just don't have 20 feet to give. I'm already, I have the 5-foot setback on the front, the 20 foot on the back. That's kind of where I'm at right now. So that's really all I have.
Go ahead.
Okay. So are you saying you were asked to dedicate 20 feet of right-of-way, or that this is just a 20-foot setback?
Well, it's a 20-foot setback in the rear. That's the on-ramp for 24. Mm-hmm. In the way the sidewalks for First Street, it's 10-foot sidewalks with a 10-foot grass strip. which would eat into my setback, which I would have to reduce the footprint of my building.
So your objection is more to what you had, the width of your sidewalk, rather than actually building the sidewalk?
Right, and I wouldn't mind, I emailed planning a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, and, in order for me just to circumvent the BZA, I'll pay in lieu.
That's a good way to put it.
I mean, I'm just trying to get we've been without a building since 2020, and we finally got a plan. I'm trying to steamroll my plan. I don't mind building sidewalks. I see the importance of the East Bank where it's headed, but I just can't build those. I can't dedicate 20 feet that I don't have to build a sidewalk. If I could build something that doesn't mess with my setback, I'm on board with doing that. But then the next issue is to be the sidewalk on Spring Street. There's a 4-foot drop off from the sidewalk to my property. I don't know how I could feasibly build a sidewalk and dedicate what's required with the way the property is, the topography of that property right there.
So I guess the planning department, they said something, one of the sentences in their recommendation, it says, you're not building back what was there, but you're redeveloping it with a greater intensity. And I understand that you're building a bigger building, and maybe I just need to talk to them about what intensity means, but I also see 4 parking spots. So, I mean, I guess intensity in terms of traffic and access and, pedestrian traffic that you're generating, I mean,
it's far less.
Yeah, based on whether, if you're having folks come and get U-Hauls every day or 4 parking spots to come periodically to put up or look at stuff.
Correct.
So that I wasn't sure exactly, maybe the intensity that they were talking about was footprint intensity, but it seems like in terms of use, it's less. And so your ask was to not build or not pay, but you said you would be willing to pay on one side or both of it, or what?
I'd be willing to pay in lieu. I don't mind. I don't even mind building on First Street, as long as the requirements of the sidewalk can be amended where it doesn't affect my setback. Because I already have such a small property, it's 0.51 acres. That I've already had to dedicate 20 feet on the rear. I have 5 have to dedicate on the south, and 5 on the west and 5 on the north.
I don't think all of that is dedicated, that's just a setback.
All right, well, it's setback, but yeah.
From your property line.
Sorry.
Sometimes you have to dedicate land for
Yeah.
public improvements
Right.
like sidewalks. That's what I was trying to get from you,
Yeah.
what that actual.
And I could be using it long
dedication.
term. I've been sitting back there since 1. I'm
But
sorry.
am I reading this right,
It's okay.
though? On this one, it looks like the sidewalk is kind of at the property line, so any expansion of that is going into your property, which is what I think you were talking
Correct,
about.
yeah.
Yeah, that happens often.
Yeah.
And I can't tell from this drawing.
So it would affect his setbacks.
It would move, the property line would move into his property, and the setback would start, and yeah, the setback would be.
It would affect, yeah.
It would make him have a smaller building, or he would have to ask for a rear variance and move closer to the interstate. Okay.
Joey, is this a 5-foot setback that it built to?
It's a 5-foot setback. This property is owned industrially.
Okay,
It's 5 feet from the right of way.
okay.
5 feet from the right of way. This is the sidewalk tool we were talking about earlier. These are the notes tied to this parcel that they're required. He's not eligible for payment in lieu, and street trees are required because it's part of within a center, that hatched area you see denoted on the plan.
So what, I guess you had said you'd be willing to build new sidewalks with a smaller grass strip and a smaller, and if Joey's saying, trees are required, what would be ideal for you? Let's say if you built sidewalks, I know ideal might be paying the fine.
Yeah.
The next level of ideal would be how wide a grass strip and how wide a sidewalk?
I mean, I guess we would have to determine if it's from where the sidewalks are currently, because there's currently 5-foot sidewalks there already.
Okay.
But then there's a grass strip, I guess, trying to determine from that point where they want to build at. Though ideally, if I could keep my 5-foot setback where it's at, where I wouldn't have to change the footprint of my already small building, which, 14,000 square feet doesn't seem very small, but, my lot is 0.51 acres. And,
right.
So even moving 5 feet in, I'm going to lose a lot.
So, but do you know offhand how much space you have? I mean, if right now where your property line starts, could you do a 2-foot or 3-foot grass strip with a 5-foot sidewalk?
So we could probably do the 5-foot, and there's already a grass strip there also, and I think it's probably about.
But not between the sidewalk and the road, though, right?
Now between the sidewalk and the road, there's not.
If the 20-foot rear setback was eliminated, that would give you some more playroom on the site, right? You can shift
It
your
would,
building.
but that would start to interfere with my stormwater.
Okay.
Because that's where we're putting our bio retention and everything else.
Well, and you've got some pretty major power poles there too, that are between the sidewalk and what's currently the grass strip.
Mr. Chairman, is there any, I'm just throwing this out, is there any benefit that the applicant may have a chance to discuss with planning, kind of his site restrictions and their plan, and maybe there's some middle ground, perhaps, before this board acted? At least they had the opportunity to flesh it out, maybe, if there is any opportunity to.
Yeah, I mean, to Mr. Hargis's point, I would like to see a shot at alternate design, maybe working with planning on this, so that rather than us trying to design it here on the fly, talk to planning and come back and maybe we'll at least look at maybe an alternate design rather than and maybe it's partially part in lieu of, or I don't know, but rather than we're just trying to work through all these little details, and that's a lot better for people who are paid to do that. That
in the law we call that doing equity.
So, well, let me ask you a question on that. You had said that you really want to get this done, and so how much time would you have? I mean, I guess I'm trying to figure out what's in asking, not assuming what's best for everybody, but I mean, the thought in my mind was, the applicant has agreed to pay the in lieu fee, and and Joey, listen to see if this is, or actually if this makes legal, if what I'm thinking could be made into a motion. But I'm almost thinking that if we had a motion that was, and I'm saying this before we close public hearing to get the applicant's reaction, but to say that the applicant could pay into the in lieu fee after he's exhausted the conversations with planning about an alternative design, if basically meaning that he knows that if they can't work out an alternative plan because it's too complicated, or it ended up getting kind of crazy because NES or whoever is not going to move those poles, and then moving the sidewalk on the other side of those poles is eats too much into his well, and maybe that's that's 7 feet, and maybe he goes 5 feet over, and 12 feet will do it, and he can keep his setback. But
he won't have to come back here again.
And he's going to have that's a much better solution. But I'd also like to have some kind of answer where he doesn't have to come back and knows that, and send a signal to planning that we're at least I am, and I don't know about three others, amenable to him paying into the fund based on the hardship of the lot. So I think it gives him some leverage to come up with an alternative plan, but since he's expressed a desire to have an alternative plan and build a new sidewalk, then I think I'd like to have him explore it, but not at the expense of 2 months' time of his.
Yeah, I'd be amenable to that. I do want to ask,
Is that, Joey, is that something we can?
I mean, I think so. You'd essentially, I'm sketching some notes here, but allow the applicant to meet, time to meet with planning to explore alternative plan. If no alternative plan can be adopted, then allow him to pay in lieu.
Yes.
Sort of contingency. If they can't work out an alternative plan, then you're granting his variance to allow him to pay in lieu.
Right, and so that way, he won't have to come back here, and he knows that if you all can't figure out an acceptable alternative plan, then he can pay the in lieu fee. Is that?
Yeah.
That seems to me to be the fastest path for you, and also to have you not come back here and then explore that option, which I don't think we know the answer to, based on what you've said already. Like, when I said, well, what's the best possible, you're like, well, I don't know where it all falls. I got to look at it some more.
Yeah.
So it gives you the chance to look at it some more and see how it all falls, propose something, see if that makes a lot more sense to you in planning. And if it does, great. And if it doesn't, then you have the option for in lieu. Is that?
And hearkening back to my law school days, that there has to be a meeting of the minds. So if there's not an agreement from planning or from him for this plan, then it's in lieu.
You're right.
Essentially.
Okay. Is that, would that be acceptable to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was your motion, right?
Well, it's not, I'm
it's
going
still
to
a
turn it
public-
into that because we haven't closed the public hearing.
yeah, I do want to add, so you mentioned, you talked to Councilman Parker. Did you talk to him specifically about the sidewalks or just about the
No,
project
this
as a
is
whole?
just
Okay.
on the original one,
Okay.
trying to figure out what to do and,
Okay.
knowing that this is kind of like the gateway into downtown and.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, is that's going to his district over there. That's kind of the main pedestrian thoroughfare to get there, so.
And he's an active council member who's here quite frequently too, so that his presence and his absence speaks. So, all right, anything else?
No, sir.
I'll close the public hearing and.
Now, is that your motion?
I'll move, Joey, that the board requests a meeting of the minds with the applicant, the zoning administrator, and planning to come up with an alternative sidewalk plan that allows him to maintain his building footprint. If a meeting of the minds is not reached, then the applicant is eligible to contribute to the in lieu fee. Is that?
The only thing I would ask in clarity for the record, what your hardship is for granting it. Is it shape of the lot, narrowness of the lot, whatever it is?
Yeah,
I mean,
and the hardship is the shape of the lot and the inability to amend the rear setback because of storm drainage. That's a motion. Any second?
I'll second it.
Have a motion, have a second. Any other discussion?
Well, I'd say this, I will support it because I think this applicant has demonstrated that he will act in good faith. I'm convinced, and he's sincere, but I would say in the future, I mean, that's the reason I'm doing it. Otherwise, we're allowing, to payment in lieu of, and the person can agree or not disagree. But I'm fine because I do think he'll act in good faith and has demonstrated that. So.
Right. And there are existing sidewalks in good shape too that say if there is an in lieu fee, there are sidewalks there, that too. So I think all those circumstances are unique specifically to this case, which is why we're here. So, why we got to that answer. So, any other discussion?
I will say I appreciate what you have come up with, but I will have to vote against it.
All right.
It's just too many unknowns right now, and I know he has good intentions, but it's just the architect in me just needs a plan, or I need to know a little bit.
All right,
understand a little more.
to not keep that drama waiting, we will vote. And so all in favor of that motion, raise your hand, say aye. That's 1, 2, 3. Tom?
Yeah, I'll go with this.
All right, all opposed? So that motion passes 4-2. with our two skeptical architects. Good luck. All right, thank you, good luck. All right, last case.
All right, Mr. Chairman, final case on today's agenda is case 2022-16. I apologize to have to scroll through all these other ones. Okay. The applicants are present. There's no parties in opposition, so you guys will have 5 minutes. Let me go through our presentation first. As Councilmember spoke to earlier, this is an existing duplex. It's a horizontal property regime arrangement. You see the A and B side. Ms. Levy lives on the A side of this structure shown there. This is an aerial photograph of the neighborhood, and I hope you can make that out. My scanner did not do a great job of her floor plan for this, but her request in meeting with me was to do an accessory apartment under the zoning code, and I know you guys don't see those typically, but it is not a dadu. It's a unique situation that the zoning code permits only for family members to have a free and independent unit of their own. It does require a restrictive covenant, as the council member talked about, that would be required to do it. But if you'll allow me to read just quickly from the section for accessory apartments. And this would be so much better if I was right on. Here we are. Accessory apartments say a self-sufficient housekeeping unit shall be considered accessory to a single-family residence, which with certain conditions. One, the owner must reside on the premises, and she does. The issue I had in this case is number 2, and it says that there is free and clear access between the housekeeping units without going outdoors. And that's what we don't have here, and that's the nature of her request today, is a variance from that condition. It only permits a single electric meter to serve both units. The accessory apartment is limited to 25% of the existing residence. No entrance visible from the street. They actually do meet that one in this situation, and it restricts the unit to family member as defined by, and it spells out specifically by blood or marriage or by law. Covenants are required to be recorded with the Register of Deeds at such time. It's not it is usually a transferable type of device, but this is looking at the subject property and then properties to either side. The applicant submitted some photographs to me from the back of the property. This is the entrance into this unit underneath the deck on the main level of the house. So the entrance comes into there, and this is the space looking into the residence that's proposed under this under the unit on A. And with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant and her contractor to discuss the specifics of their request.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for your time today. My name is Karen Levy. I live at 1319 Chester Avenue, Unit A in East Nashville. I moved to Nashville a little over a year ago from another state. Fell in love with Nashville, specifically East Nashville. And I'm a single person and fell in love with this house. It was just perfect for me in every way. It's not a big house. It's completely manageable for me from a spacing issue. I love to cook. The kitchen is perfect. And I always dreamed of having a backyard with a garden. And this picture doesn't show it, but there is a garden that was left there for me. And I'm really excited about growing my own vegetables and stuff like that. When I first saw the house, the prior owner was still living there. And in that basement, he had a bed and a gym. And the washer and dryer is also downstairs. So it never dawned on me that I wouldn't be able to put a bathroom in there because in my mind, I was always going to make it into a second bedroom, specifically for my mom. As Councilman Emily said, she lives in Florida. She's 85. She's my best friend, and I want to spend as much time with her as I can. And I don't see her living with me full-time, but she lives in Florida, and the summers are brutal there, even though they're not great here. But I see her moving in with me for a good portion of each year. The only way to access the basement area is for me to either go down those stairs off the kitchen or out the front door, around the side, through the gate. So also doing laundry in bad weather, which I learned last week for the first time, it's problematic also. So it would sure be nice to have a bathroom down there for me to use and just to hang out while I'm doing my laundry when there's bad weather. And that's really it. Never thought about renting it out, don't want to rent it out. I'm a very private person. I can't imagine a stranger on my property. And this is Ronnie, and he's my contractor, and I thought he might be able to answer any questions that I can't answer. Thank you.
Will you tell us about the council lady mentioned the covenants that you were willing to enter into or have already?
Yeah.
Could you tell us about
Yeah, I
how
actually took care of it this morning through Wagon Wheel. They did my closing, and I signed paperwork that said that I will not rent out my home and or the basement or mother-in-law apartment, whatever you're calling it, to anybody. And that's now in my deed, and it's notarized and recorded.
Okay.
And can I say, too, I want
Yes,
to
sir.
apologize.
Yes, sir. Would just your name and address and then whatever you'd like to say.
Ronnie Degenhart, RV Builders. I'm a general contractor helping Karen out. I apologize. We did not know if we were being loud.
Oh, it's all right.
We're sorry. So I just want to
I've been on this
say-
board 10 years, and you're the first people that ever were loud in this. I'm just kidding. Or ever
But I just
talked.
want to say, I've watched
It's
all
totally
y'all.
not a worry. Not a worry at all.
But y'all have given everybody grace and listened to their story very well, and everybody deserves that, so I just want to say we're sorry. But this is totally not for rental. Can I speak more? One more
Yes, sir.
thing real quick? This is not, Karen is a private person. It's not to rent out. We didn't even think of all the different options. I guess the concern of renting it out. It's totally to put a bedroom in downstairs at her house, and she just has to walk outside to get to it. And she loves the layout over the top floor of her house, and there's no way to put steps in. I could extend the end of her house with the great expense of it and make it more, and it's truly just a amazing lady, just wanted to have a bedroom is all it is, so that's what she's asking for.
Any questions? Anything else to add?
The restrictive covenants, and when you were at Wagon Wheel today, you didn't by any chance bring them with you, did you?
No, he only gave me a copy of the invoice for what it cost me.
Oh, never let, there's a law list that works over at Wagon Wheel, no relation, mind you, but yeah, that sounds like someone with Irish
She does have
background.
the invoice with her, though, if you want to see it.
That's okay. I was just curious if there was something specific, and it does run with the land, I'm assuming. I haven't seen it, so. But, okay.
All right, anything else to add? All right, we will close the public hearing.
Well, I mean, I don't have an issue with any of this. I mean, it's her blood relative. It's not like, but, I don't see a hardship, but I think we can figure out something here.
Well, I think, to me, the hardship is that architecturally.
Yeah, the floors don't connect.
I mean, well, the floors don't connect. And, I was thinking, my sister-in-law has a basement that's kind of, has a door going to the outside just like this. But it has a stair that goes up. And, if they put a deadbolt at the top of the stairs and nobody ever used it, it'd meet all the criteria. But it's, and yet it still has that exterior door. So it's not the exterior door, it's the fact that you can't get there from the inside of the house. And, the room itself is it's not a, I mean, we saw a garage apartment that looked like a studio or a garage office that looked like a studio apartment. There's nothing about this that looks like it's ever going to be potentially another true dwelling unit. And I think given the covenants and I think there's adequate protection for the spirit of the rule and for the neighbors.
There's no feedback one way or the other against this.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, I think if I were, if there was the concern that we would have, our imposing our concern on potential neighbors, I think is alleviated in my mind with the covenants and.
I mean, it's bad enough to have to go outside to go down and do your laundry, with all due respect, man. You didn't buy that one either, did you?
Well, and I think that, just the layout, meaning that the only laundry facility it requires you to go through that room. Even that piece of the design says that it will always be a family member, or you can't rent it to a stranger and do your laundry.
Right. That's
so
true.
even,
That's true.
And again, no reason to doubt the applicant's intent, but.
So is that a motion?
Any other?
So my only thought on the motion is I'd like it to be clear for the record that, because we don't have the covenant CCRs, that they'll be, I think Mr. Hargis has said we can have those recorded with the Register of Deeds.
Yes.
With the grant of the application, and that they be recorded, that they provide that they, in substance, provide if there's any change of title, that you can't continue the use. Is that?
Yeah.
If the ownership is transferred, this right doesn't transfer with it.
Yeah.
And that's probably covered in the CCRs. We just haven't seen the CCR, so I think that needs to be, that's my understanding of what the council lady was wanting us to kind of make sure that happens. So.
Joey, is there anything in that?
No, I think we can cover it. I mean, the zoning code, we have I'll look at the covenant that was created. We have a covenant, a standard covenant we use for these types of things. As long as they mesh and if it's the board, in the traditional sense, this would transfer with land. We don't care who owns it as long as they follow these rules. If it's this board's thing is, hey, it's really for Miss Levy, then I do want to know that distinction if that's a distinction this board has. Like it's really for her in this case.
I think that's
what the council, that would be my concern, that it is for this applicant. And that's why I said if there's a transfer of ownership that
it's not permitted.
Yeah, I mean, that was my, I'm open, I mean, if y'all are wanting to consider that the use be allowed to transfer with ownership, but that it always be a family member, used for a family member.
But it has to be to be an accessory apartment, it has to be a family member, right?
So,
Is that correct? Is that all right, Joey?
It does, but it does not matter who the owner is. I mean, in the usual course of business.
Right, but let's say the applicant sold the property. Let's say I bought the property and I moved in. I couldn't get a Airbnb permit for it because there's a covenant. And if I rented it to someone, just like anybody now, if I rent it unlawfully and my neighbors turned me in and it was determined I was renting it unlawfully, then I would have to stop, right? I mean, I couldn't rent it.
Correct. And the difference for accessory apartments versus just sleeping quarters, accessory apartments, you get everything, cooking facilities, you get a range plug, and we're allowing a full housekeeping unit here, which is fine. I mean, that's what you guys do. That's how we normally handle those. If the testimony in the board's will is, hey, we're fine with Miss Levy doing it, we're not necessarily fine with Miss Jones doing it, or make Miss Jones come back here and seek approval, whatever we'll enforce whatever you guys do.
Yeah, I mean,
But it is acceptable to have it as this owner?
I don't.
It's not good practice for boards to condition upon appellant only. The case law is pretty clear. Hey, variance is run with the land.
I guess.
I'm fine with that too. I thought the council lady raised a concern, that her concern was that she was okay with having this for Miss Levy, but didn't know if she was, open to it, going beyond that. But I may have misunderstood.
Yeah. Well, what I'm understanding.
I'm okay with it either way.
Right. What I'm understanding is like this. You can never be rented out separately, right? Essentially, it's always going to be a family member or like somebody. It's not like it's ever able to be rented So I think that was her primary concern. I understood from the council lady that it wasn't going to be a separate rented apartment, which it could never be that anyways. So.
We just wanted to morph into something like
And that
Right.
happens because it's an accessory apartment, not
right.
because it's we're not
there's-
calling it a
yeah.
separate unit.
Yeah, and if there was a
Independent
stair between them, then it would just be part of the house. I mean,
Right.
that at the end of the day, it's, if she had her cousin come stay with her rather than her mom, then they stay there in the extra bedroom downstairs. You know, like, if it's a different owner, I think they should have that same ability, you know, that's their, they, you know, it's still one house, really, it's not,
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we approve it, but that the CCRs provide that it runs with the land subject to the condition that the accessory dwelling can only be used according to the code, which is for a family member only, and that those CCRs
Family or
be
friend.
recorded with the Davis County Register of Deeds.
Second.
Have a motion, have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. Any opposed? That motion passes. Good luck. All right. Okay, that's it.
Is that right? Are we adjourned?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And we're done. Forgot to adjourn. We had a-
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.